welcome back to Grizzly 2 Crime. My name is Grizzly, and this is day 4 of the Letecia Stauch trial. This will be the morning session, and then there will be a lunch break, and then we'll come back for the afternoon session, okay? So watch out for that second stream. Make sure that you are subscribed with the bell on so you don't miss out when I do go live, because we don't always know exactly how long that lunch break will be. Thank you for being here. If you wouldn't mind, please like the video and also share it so that other Grizzlies who maybe didn't get the notification can know from Twitter or Facebook or wherever you share this. You can use the hashtag Gannon Strong, Justice for Gannon Stauch, or LeteciaStauchTrial. Welcome to membership, Ashley. If you guys are becoming members today, please check out the members only playlist and the community tab. We just did a recent snarky members only stream where we were talking about the opening statements that the defense made. That was quite something. So we have got 13 minutes left to court time to start. So what I'm going to do is quickly give you just a quick recap of the case in case you don't know anything about it. Please also check the description box because there's a full playlist there for you. We've done a deep dive, Maptime. We've read through the probable cause affidavit about 3 times. All the details are there. And there's even a video that's about 18 minutes long that'll recap you on the whole case of all the details that you need to know if you do feel just a little bit like, oh man, I need a refresher. Okay. So, and thank you so much, Emily Kate. All right. So, and yes, thank you for sharing the little blue hearts and hedgehogs for Gannon. That is very sweet. So, Gannon Stauch was born on September 29, 2008 to Landon Hoyt and Al Stauch. He was born 3 months premature. He survived a collapsed lung, had a feeding tube, and weighed 1 pound and 6 ounces. And he's described, or was described, as a miracle child. He had a 10% chance of survival. So if this case wasn't sad enough already, he already overcame so much until he was murdered. And the accused is Letecia Stauch, who we all know is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. And that's what we're busy watching is the trial. We're busy watching the court of law in action. She's pleading not guilty by reason of insanity. The defense is going for dissociative identity disorder as one of their main defenses, which is just offensive, honestly, because that's not insanity. But anyway, I digress. So they say, he has a younger sister, Lena. Gannon's parents got divorced, and then Al Stauch married Letecia Stauch. Letecia is the one who's been accused of murdering him. Gannon moved to Colorado in 2019 to spend more time with his dad. There was a bit of a custody battle between Al and Landon, and so he was staying there. Al was fighting for full custody of Gannon, from what I'm understanding. And so Gannon had moved to Colorado. He was from South Carolina, to spend more time with his dad. Now, Letecia and the kids had moved there in January of 2019. Letecia's the one who found the house, 6627 Mandan Drive. Let me just check it. 6627 Mandan Drive, Colorado. It's in the Lawson Ranch area. She found the house, okay? If you think I'm talking fast, I'm just trying to make sure we're all updated before court starts. Sorry about that. Starting here with lots of energy, okay? Yes, Donnell, this pronunciation, police, I'll accept. No objection here. It's pronounced Letecia. Yes, goodbye, Letecia. We've got 10 minutes left to court. Okay. So Gannon had moved to Colorado to that 6627 Mandan Drive house. Letecia's the one who found the house. And then she made up all sorts of stories. She made up stories that a captain and a colonel, where her husband Al was working on the National Guard, one of his units, that they had sexually harassed her. She also made up stories of burglaries happening at the house and all kinds of things before this crime even happened. Okay. So that's what we have there so far. So born 29th of September 2008, and they found his body on the 20th of March 2020. So Gannon dreamed of becoming a YouTube gamer and already uploaded a video to YouTube. We can look at that at some point during this trial. I'm preparing lots of things for us during the tea break and stuff like that. He loved Mario and Sonic. His favorite color was blue, which is why everyone's sharing blue hearts. His family nicknamed him Big Bubba. He told his biological mom a joke every single day. She said he looked forward to telling her something corny every day. Gannon stayed with his dad, little sister, stepsister, and stepmother at 6627 Mandan Drive, Lawson Ranch, Colorado, and enjoyed biking around the neighborhood and playing video games with his friends. He was last seen on Monday, January 27th, 2020, on surveillance footage leaving the house with Letecia. Okay, so that was the day when things happened. Okay, so trigger warning, this content is for adults only. This is distressing content about a victim who was only 11 years old and who was stabbed and shot and, from what we're learning, burnt and all sorts of things. So if that's not for you, don't worry. You can come back for another episode. But thank you for being here. Really appreciate it. Okay, so this is the house, 6627 Mandan Drive, where the crime happened. We have got 9 minutes left to court. Now, on Sunday, January 26th, so the day before, Letecia booked Gannon off from school for Monday, saying that he had stomach problems. She recorded herself addressing Gannon about candle wax that had spilt on the carpet. And in that audio, which they played in court, I think it was on the first day of evidence, day 2. He said, "I'm just worried about my burns," which was very sad to hear. On Monday, January 27th, Letecia booked off from work, and she didn't just say, "Hey, I've got a tummy bug or something." She said her stepdad was killed in a car crash. What? Anyway, so to come up with such an extreme excuse, can you imagine what was going on? That's pretty hectic. She took a photo of Gannon asleep in his bed at 8:15 a.m. that morning with his Nintendo Switch next to him, and then Googled, "Can Nintendo find my Switch?" She said that Gannon left between 3:15 and 4 p.m. that day to play video games at a friend's house. So 1 minute she's booking him off from school because he's so sick. And the next minute she's saying, "Oh, he went out to play with video games with friends." I mean, that already makes no sense, right? She called 911 to report Gannon missing that evening. So this is the picture that was taken. In the next slide, I've zoomed in a bit because I'm trying to see what the hell is going on here. I know we've analyzed it before as well. It's just, if I zoom in like that and change, the contrast on the right, it just looks like, I mean, that's not the whole length of his body. It looks like there's something else under those covers. People have speculated it could be a suitcase, a bag, whatever. Terrible. And how creepy that she took this photo of him sleeping that morning, that he was murdered that day in his bedroom. There was also this candle wax incident, which she talked about. That's the audio that they played. These are pictures from that, and it's honestly very distressing to look at. I always look at it and always try to make out what in the hell is really going on here. What is happening here? And I believe that it was investigators that cut out a piece of carpet. Am I correct? Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. At first, I wasn't sure. Was it Letecia that cut out a piece of carpet or investigators? Because there was a piece of carpet missing. I think it was investigators, and it could have even been this. I'm not sure. But that wax, man, I don't know what's going on here. Right? Sorry, I'm just looking at what you guys are saying. There's also more pictures. I don't know what's going on this cushion. If you need to pause and you want to go back and look at it, you can. All right. So now we've got 5 minutes to court. Now that morning, Letecia texted her daughter with Gannon's phone saying, "Tisha left phone at home. Text me if you need her." So that's a red flag. She left her phone at home. On January 28th, 2020, Letecia drove her car, that's the next day, to the Colorado Springs airport and left it there. She then rented a car and picked up her husband in the rental, saying she didn't want to add mileage to her car. She slipped out that night to go back to the airport and fetch her car. Then she drove to South Perry Park Road, that area, Douglas County, and this is where police believe she initially dumped Gannon's body. She'd gone there a second time again. She'd picked up the body. She drove that body all the way to Florida, to that Escambia River Bridge area. She did a 1,400-mile trip. Oh, my word. And then she went to South Carolina. She went to Myrtle Beach, and she was arrested on March 2nd, 2020, based on evidence that they had found. But Gannon's body was found on March 17th. So just a quick overview of, the monster that's accused of this, that we're looking at her trial. Gannon was stabbed 18 times. He had injuries in his chest, back, and head. He had defensive wounds on his arms and hands. There was also blunt force trauma to his head, which the prosecutor said fractured his skull like an eggshell. He was shot 3 times with a 9mm handgun, which was then found at the house. She missed 2 shots apparently, but 1 shot struck his jaw, traveled through his head, and lodged into the back of his head. Letecia asked her daughter then to buy a carpet cleaner, baking soda, and she started cleaning. And Gannon's body was then stuffed into a suitcase with his pillow and blankets, which was discovered on March 17th, 2020. And we heard on the witness stand the cross-examination of Mr. Macon Ponder, who found the bag with his team. This is Gannon. He died when he was only 11 years old. He was murdered, and the person accused is Letecia Stauch. So, are we all caught up? I know that was a little bit fast, but I just wanted to give you a good overview so that we are ready for when court starts, okay? So, let's do this. Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share. And we're back. Okay. And I've got the court stream happening here. I don't hear anything yet. Muted. All of them muted. Okay. So we're waiting for that to happen. Yes, we brought back the OG intro a little bit. I'm sure you guys are missing it as much as I am. Yes, so I am not T-Pain. Says I'm trying to mentally prepare for what we might hear today. Me too. Okay, nothing's happening here yet, right? Just checking. Okay, we're waiting for cameras to come on and everything. So welcome to the morning session of day 4 of the Letecia Stauch trial. This is the first time on my channel. I am streaming an entire trial with you guys. I hope that you join this community if you aren't yet subscribed so that you can join us every day. Just to update you guys, there's no court on Thursdays. Okay, so I'm still waiting to find out today if it's going to happen on Monday. It seems like it. I mean, today's not off, right? So in general, the trial is expected to last 6 to 8 weeks. They say 2 months, at opening statement. So 6 to 8 weeks. Let's call it 8, which means we've still got, after today, 7 weeks left. And no trial, no court on Thursdays. So it'll be usually Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday. And starting at 9 o'clock Denver time every day. There we go. We've got court happening. Are we ready?
All right.
Okay, everyone. Thank you for being here.
All right. Court will call 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury is not present in the courtroom. Is there anything we need to take up outside the presence of the jury at this point in time, Mr. Allen?
Yes, Judge. So prior to us starting trial, you had asked us to give you notification. We're going to bring in any sensitive photos. So there will be some of those today. Some from the scene where the suitcase and Gannon's remains were found, but then also clothing. But more importantly, the suitcase we intend to bring in today, since the time that it was recovered in Florida, it's been in the freezer. It's got lots of fluid on it. So I intended to have that be the very last thing that I admit into evidence. Okay. It'll be in a plastic bag so that the jurors can see it and appreciate size and that kind of thing. And then what I would like to do is then once it's admitted, unless defense has any specific cross on that item, have it taken right back out. It will smell at the courtroom if we keep it here.
Mr. Tellini or Mr. Cook?
I would like to take it out.
Yeah. You stopped at taken. I wasn't sure if it was cross-examination or what. So
I don't know if it would be cross-examination,
but it's okay to bring it in, take it right back out. Okay.
There's Letecia.
All right. So what witness is that going to be through?
Our very first one, Kelly Smith, will be our first witness this morning.
Okay.
And then what I would like to do, Judge, just because of the size of that exhibit, is probably have the suitcase is have our investigator come in and actually just hold it for the witness and then have that investigator show it to the jury, lift it up, and then when we're done, walk it back out.
All right. And I assume just substitute photographs for it.
I'm sorry?
Substitute photographs.
We have photos of it as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Just with photos, it's hard to.
Hold on just a second.
Yep.
No, I think it'll be fine. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say the photos, obviously, it's hard to get a good feel for actual size.
No, and I understand that part.
Yeah.
So, okay. Okay. Is there anything else that we need to address before we bring the jury in? Prosecution?
No, you're not.
Defense?
No, sir.
Okay, let's go ahead and bring them in.
Linda says, but can she be closer to the wall? Maybe she'll start climbing the wall. Yeah, like the ring. Oh my word. Thank you for being here. Really appreciate you guys watching here with me.
No,
don't know who's doing this.
That's what I was just checking. Are you doing okay? Okay.
Right? Pandora's karma. She just stuffed
All
tissues
rise
in
for
her
the jury,
pocket.
please. Ah, that's okay.
It's definitely her thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. You may all be seated. Court will recall 20 CR 1358, People versus Letecia Stauch. Record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to start our day the same way that we have every other day, and that is, has anything occurred since we were last together that causes any of you to believe you could not continue to serve as a fair and impartial juror? If so, please raise your hand. No response? All right. With that, prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. Good morning. We would call Kelly Smith.
All right. Ms. Smith, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Good morning. You swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning, ma'am. Will you please introduce yourself to our jury and spell your first and last name for the record?
Morning, I'm Kelly Smith, Kelysmith.
And there's a microphone there. Slide it closer to you and try to speak into it so that everybody can hear you.
Okay,
Ms. Smith, who are you employed by?
Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office.
What do you do for the Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office?
I'm a crime scene technician,
And just because we don't have a Santa Rosa County here in Colorado, where is that?
Florida.
All right. What's the biggest city in that county?
Milton?
Milton? Okay. Is that very near to Pensacola?
Yes,
Okay. And Pensacola is in what county?
Escambia County, Florida.
All right. And I think you said that you're a crime scene technician, is that right?
Yes, sir.
What education do you have that allows you to do that job?
I have several crime scene classes, water classes, suicidal classes that I've taken for the job, and then a 40-hour class that they gave me when I started.
The 40-hour class, is that the basic crime scene investigation class?
Yes,
Was that in 2019?
yes, sir.
Did you also take a crime scene processing class in 2020?
Yes, sir.
You mentioned that you took a water class. Was that the aquatic abuse, death, and homicidal drowning investigations?
Yes,
Was that in 2021?
yes,
And then you said suicide investigations also? Is that right?
yes,
Okay.
sir.
Was that in 2022?
I believe so.
Let's see. What did you do before you became a crime scene technician for Santa Rosa County Sheriff?
I was still employed at the sheriff's office as a 911 dispatcher,
How long did you work as a dispatcher?
13 years.
What are the duties associated with being a crime scene technician for Santa Rosa County?
Documentation, photograph, collection of evidence, packaging of the evidence to turn it in. We do dusting of the fingerprints and take DNA samples.
Is it common for you to actually go out to potential crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
Do you sometimes collect evidence from crime scenes?
Yes, sir.
Do you also occasionally attend autopsies?
Yes, sir.
Will you typically collect evidence from those autopsies
Yes, sir. And photograph.
and photographs? I want to direct your attention specifically to March 17th of 2020. Were you working as a crime scene technician back then?
Yes, sir.
Did you get a specific call to respond to the Escambia River Bridge on the report of a suitcase with a body inside of it?
Yes, sir.
What's that approximate location where you were called to?
The county line between Santa Rosa and Escambia.
And we had previous testimony from other people that had also gone to that bridge. It's sort of, if you look at a regular map with north being on the top, it looks like the bridge runs north to south, but it actually, I think, has a east-west lineage. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And as far as where you responded to, was that on the west side of the bridge or the east side of the bridge?
East side of the bridge.
Is it typical for you when you go to a scene like that to get briefed by somebody that's familiar with the investigation up to that point?
Yes, sir.
Did you have that occur here?
Yes, sir.
Who briefed you?
I don't remember. I don't recall on that one. Who
Okay.
the first person I spoke to.
Was it by chance Detective Jason Yoder?
Yes.
What was the information that you received from Detective Yoder when you got that first briefing?
That they had located a suitcase with a body in it under the bridge.
Did you have a chance to make your own visual observations of that area?
Yes, sir.
Tell the jury just basically what you saw, and then at some point here in just a moment, we're going to get into some photographs.
I noticed we had to park on the other bridge, so I was able to look underneath the east bridge, and I just seen what appeared to be a suitcase and a material beside it from a distance. It just looked like material.
Did you have a chance also to view the scene from above, meaning on that bridge span looking down?
Yes.
Did it appear that the location where there was an indentation, that was where the suitcase was dropped from that bridge down to the ground below?
Yes, sir.
What color was that suitcase? Do you remember?
The olive green color.
Okay. Did you go up closer to the suitcase area?
Yes, sir.
You said that it looked like there was some fabric or something like that associated with the suitcase. When you got closer, could you tell what those things were?
You could see that it was a blanket and a body.
And then you mentioned earlier that it's very typical for you to take photos of scenes. Did you do that in this case?
Yes, sir.
You know, at this point, I would like to approach and show the witness exhibit 77 through 85, which are
You may.
photographs.
All right, go ahead.
You could just look through people's exhibit 77 through 85 and then give me a heads up.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize those?
Yes, sir.
What are they?
These are the pictures around the suitcase that I've taken.
At the scene at the Escambia River Bridge?
Yes, sir.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw that day?
Yes, sir.
You know, at this time, I'd move for admission of people 77 through 85.
Defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibit 77 through 85 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to publish, Your Honor?
Give me just a minute, though.
Okay.
All right, go ahead.
So, Ms. Smith, this is going to be a little bit tricky for you, but I would like you to turn around in the witness stand there. Yep, you found the pointer. And then if you want to, you can actually stand up in the witness stand. But just please make sure when we're describing these photos that you speak loud enough so that the furthest juror from you can hear you.
Okay.
So point out for the jury what we're looking at there, please. And this is this is people 77 for the record.
These are the pylons to the bridge with the suitcase here, and from a distance, I could just tell it was material to the side of it.
Okay. And then people's exhibit 78.
Same thing. Suitcase with a different angle. I'm seeing on a different side of it.
Is that the way it appeared when you got up to the scene, that it was, everything had spilled out of the suitcase?
Yes, sir.
Okay. People's 79?
Just up close of the actual material and the victim here.
And, okay, and People's Exhibit 80?
This is just the suitcase itself.
Was it apparent to you when you got on scene that there had been quite a bit of decomposition happening already?
Yes, sir, due to the coloring here and the bug activity that was there.
What kind of bug activity are we talking about?
Maggots.
Does that indicate that the suitcase had been out in this condition for a period of time?
Yes, sir.
People's Exhibit 81? What are we looking at there?
This is what appeared to be a void spot. You were up on top of the bridge looking down. And then beside it, you could see everything's laid over and it's discolored, a little discolored from everything around it.
So is that looking from the span of the bridge down towards where the suitcase likely had dropped?
Yes,
Okay. And that's what it looked like for you when you stood there as well?
yes, sir.
82, I believe is this 82 or 81?
81.
81. So please put up 82. And is that just a close-up of that last photograph?
Yes, sir.
Did that suitcase have one wheel on it?
I don't recall.
Okay. People's Exhibit 83.
Just a side view of the suitcase.
And do you see a wheel on that bottom left of that photo?
Yes, sir.
So if we go back to 82, does it appear that that really deeper indention there would coincide with that wheel potentially?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And then People's 84.
The inside of the suitcase.
It's hard to tell in photographs, but was the inside of that suitcase wet?
Very.
Is that common to have, I guess, a wet area like that when a body's decomposing?
Yes, sir.
85.
The backside of the suitcase and it's wet. That's what the discoloration is there. Some liquid coming out.
So that darker area below the wheel there is liquid that had leaked out on the ground?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you can take a seat again. And then that was on March 17th, correct?
Yes, sir.
Did you also attend the autopsy on March 18th?
Yes, sir.
So tell the jury, was the body that went to the autopsy the same body that you saw on scene on March 17th?
Yes, sir.
How could you tell?
The clothing was the same, the condition was the same, similar characteristics.
What about the blankets that you mentioned? Were those also at autopsy?
They were.
Did you collect a lot of those items during the autopsy?
I did.
All right. Do you also take photographs of the autopsy?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Where was that autopsy performed?
At Sacred Heart Hospital in Pensacola.
Was there a tentative identification done as to the remains that the autopsy was performed on?
Yes.
What was tentative identification made as?
Gannon
Gannon
Stauch.
Stauch, okay. May I approach with People's 87 through 102?
Okay, go ahead.
Look at Letecia, you guys, here.
Actually going up with People's Exhibit 87, and then 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102. So there's a gap for physical evidence that we'll be admitting as well.
So it's 87 and then it jumps to 89 through 102.
87 and then 90.
Okay, got it. All right, thank you.
Same thing as before. If you can just take a look at those and then give me a heads up.
Look. She's covering her face
Have
now.
you had a chance to look at those?
Yes, sir.
What are they generally speaking?
Pictures from the autopsy.
Are
the
they fair
evidence.
of evidence?
Mhm.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw during this autopsy and things that you collected?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd move for admission of 87 and then 90 through 102.
Defense?
No objection, Your Honor.
Exhibits 87 and 90 through 102 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to publish those, Your Honor.
May.
So we've got 87 up on the board behind you, and same as before, Ms. Smith, if you could just stand up and then let the jury know what we're looking at there.
This is gonna be the bullet that was extracted from the victim's head, and these two plastic pieces were in there.
So the bullet that we see there, that's a projectile.
Yes, sir.
Is that typically expelled out of the end of a firearm?
Yes, sir.
I know it seems obvious, but we got to be technical, right? What about those plastic pieces there? What do those appear to be?
From my understanding, they were part of the bullet.
Okay. And then you said that these were recovered during the autopsy. Do you remember where specifically?
Leave the head.
The head. And then I want to approach with people's 88 and 89.
Go ahead. No, that's fine.
So if you could first take a look at people's exhibit 88.
Okay.
Do you recognize this item?
Yes.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition today as the day that you collected it?
Yes, sir.
And what is it appear to be?
The projectile.
Same one that's in people's exhibit 87?
Yes, sir.
All right, this time I move for admission of people's 88.
Mr. Cook,
No objection, Judge.
exhibit 88 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna look. Yes. And then I've got people's exhibit 89 here in front of you. Do you recognize this item?
Yes.
Does it appear to be in the same or substantially same condition today as the day that you recovered it?
Yes, sir.
What does it appear to be?
The red plastic pieces.
Same red plastic pieces that are in people's exhibit 87?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd move for admission of people's exhibit 89.
Mr. Cook,
No objection.
exhibit 89 will be admitted.
If we can just have the witness display these to the jury by walking in front of the witness stand.
Where that's fine.
Box. Starting with of the 88, if you could just hold this up like this and then just walk slowly in front of the jury box. And let's see if you can now do the same thing with people's exhibit. Just set it on the table. Now, Ms. Smith, we're going to go back up to the photos to People's Exhibit 90. Tell the jury what we're looking at there, please.
That is the pillow that was located inside the suitcase.
Were there any defects apparent in that pillow?
Yes, there's a defect right here.
When we use the word defect, what do we mean?
Not if you wouldn't buy it with that in it. It's something that's occurred after the fact.
And can you tell by just looking at the defect in the pillow, what might have caused the defect? Or does more investigation needed?
More investigation.
In People's Exhibit 91,
This is the other side of the pillow. It was one of those that had reversible on each side. This one's wet with a discoloration. And I had some remnants on there from the decomp.
People's 92. What are we looking at here?
That's the projectile that was done on the x-ray machine
So is this actually an x-ray of that pillow itself?
of the pillow itself.
Are there actually two projectiles visible in that x-ray?
Over here in the white.
When we, again, just so that we're being technical and not leaving anything unsaid, when we say projectiles, are we again talking about bullets
Yes,
that were inside of this pillow?
correct.
People's 93.
That would be a close-up of the damaged part of the pillowcase.
Would that coincide potentially with a bullet being fired into that pillow?
Yes,
People's 94. What,
the same thing here with the defect right here on the pillow once we've taken the pillowcase off.
again, does that coincide with a bullet being fired into the pillow?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, we've seen the x-ray and the bullets were inside the pillow. Does that mean that there would not be any exit defects from the bullets?
Correct.
People's 95.
At up close of not the material, but the filling of the pillow, the damage that was done to it from the projectile.
Does that actually, can you see the projectile there as well?
Maybe a little bit right here.
Okay. People's 96.
Closer image of the damage done from the projectile.
And can you also see the projectile? People's 97.
That would be one of the projectiles that was in the pillow that we got out.
People's 98.
Defect in the pillow from the projectile.
Is this a separate defect?
Yes, this is on the other side of the pillow.
People's Exhibit 99.
See, but there's the defect.
So this defect that we're looking at here now is the pillow with the pillowcase removed. Is that right?
Here was the first one.
And then the this defect coincides with that last defect in the pillowcase that we just looked at.
Yes,
People's 100.
closer shot. Pillowcase for the pillow.
People's 101.
Another shot with us cutting the material and getting to the filling of the pillow.
And People's 102.
That would be the projectile that we pulled out.
So correct to understand that you were able to pull out two projectiles from the pillow itself?
Yes, sir.
At this time, I'd like to approach the witness with People's Exhibit 103.
You may, go ahead.
She's shielding her eyes.
Same thing as before, Ms. Smith. Can we take a look at People's Exhibit 103? You recognize People's Exhibit 103?
Yes, sir.
What does it appear to be?
The two projectiles we pulled from the pillow.
Are they in the same condition today or roughly the same condition today as when you recovered them?
Yes, sir.
I move for admission of People's Exhibit 103.
Mr. Cook,
Objection.
Exhibit 103 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to have the witness, Grizzly, for the judge.
That's fine. Got your step there.
Judge, at this point, I would ask for permission to approach the witness with People's Exhibits 104 through 120.
You may go ahead.
Yeah.
Ms. Smith, same as before, if you could flip through those exhibits 104 through 120 and then give me a heads up when you're done looking at them.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize the photos 104 through 120?
Yes, sir.
Are those photographs that you took during the autopsy of Gannon Stauch on March 18th, 2020?
Yes.
Are they fair and accurate representations as to what you saw that day?
Yes.
All right, move for admission and permission to publish 104 through 120.
Mr. Cook? Sure.
I think this is Al, you guys. I think this is him here. Mm-hmm. Steve, her Google search history shows some premeditation there. So if you want to watch the 18-minute video that I have as a recap, that would be a good start. But there's lots of content I've made. It was on the playlist. But yeah, there's premeditation to this, in my opinion. Based on her Google search history, based on the probable cause affidavit. Is it? That's his new wife beside him. Okay. This guy's like right here in the camera. Can't see Letecia now. Okay, cool. Yes. Don't worry, Barbara. We're going to be here for hours, many hours. We're streaming the whole trial. I'm going to be here with you the entire trial. Here and there, I'll be off camera. And that's normally when I'm making you something or I'm quickly going to make coffee or something. Okay. But we're streaming here so that we can all be here together. Okay. Tiny G. Can make myself a little bit bigger like this if you like. For now. Diane Sheffield says, poor Gannon must have been so scared. And the thing is, Letecia Stauch said on those phone calls that we heard on day 2 and 3 of the trial, this is day 4, you know, when she says yada, 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 she said, yeah, you know, he was scared of everything. He was scared of me. Like she says he was scared. So that is a scary thought. Okay. Let me make myself small again.
Okay, all right. All right, court will exclude Exhibit 104 as cumulative. Court will admit Exhibits 105 through 120.
And permission to publish starting with 105 and then through 120. Well, if you just,
You may go ahead.
okay, same as process as before, Ms. Smith. If you could just stand up and tell us what we're looking at here. First, in a general sense, what are we looking at?
This is the t-shirt that the victim was wearing when we located him.
Did this T-shirt have a number of defects in it that coincided with injuries that the victim had on his body?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when we're looking at People's Exhibit 105, there's obviously some graphics on the T-shirt, correct?
Yes, sir.
And then there's that angular measuring device there. Is that signifying, as we look through these photos, where specific defects were in the shirt?
Yes.
So can you point out the defect that we're looking at first in 105?
The defect here is going to be right here. There's cotton, white cotton behind it to help make it stand out.
And then if we go to 106, is that a close-up of that same defect?
That is a close-up of the same defect.
107,
Here, now we're here.
sort of where it says Minecraft over the R, it looks like.
Yes.
And then 108,
Yep, close view. That defect.
109. Those first two, would that coincide roughly with the left chest area, lower left chest area?
Yes.
And now would that coincide with, I guess, left shoulder area,
Yes.
collarbone maybe? And then 110,
Close-up of that same image
111,
to the arm. Here.
the sleeve of the arm,
Yes, left arm.
and then 112,
Close-up of that same defect.
113,
Up to here.
so are we still looking at the left sleeve, just upper portion of that sleeve?
Yes.
114, I think,
Up close of that one.
115,
Turn the shirt over. And this would be the defect.
that appears to be a larger defect than the others, is that correct?
Yes.
And then 116,
Close version.
117,
Left arm again, back side.
118,
Up close.
119.
And that one just moved up to here.
And are we looking at the backside for both of those last couple of photos, the backside of the left sleeve?
Yes.
120,
Up close of that one.
left sleeve again?
Yes, sir.
All right, if you could go ahead and sit down. Or may I approach with People's Exhibit 121 through 141?
You may go ahead. Right.
Look at Letecia.
go ahead and flip through those and then let me know when you're done.
Okay.
Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir.
What are those photographs of?
The jacket the victim was wearing when we located him.
To sort of contrast what we just looked at, the t-shirt, was that a basic cotton t-shirt with the graphic writing on it?
Yes.
This jacket that we're going to look at next, is it more of a nylon type jacket?
Yes.
Is it the jacket that the victim was wearing that you recovered at autopsy?
Yes.
Are these fair and accurate representations as to what you saw of that jacket at the autopsy on March 18th, 2020?
Yes.
And at this time, I move for admission of 121 through 142 and permission to publish.
Mr. Cook?
It's done. We hit the bench.
Okay.
About his,
Council approach, please.
Okay. Approaching the bench again. Jinxie says, doesn't the judge sound like you could be a Disney ride voiceover? Gee, thank you for streaming so we could snark along with you. Jinxie, yes. Disney ride voiceover. And thank you all for being here with me. Thank you for your support. I'm going to put it towards coffee because I'm definitely going to need coffee during this trial. It starts for me at 5 p.m. every day and it goes till 1 a.m. There's a little lunch break, which for me will be like a dinner break. But I'm going to be here with you throughout this trial. Rob's like, Letecia looks completely disgusted. Busted.
All right. Exhibits 121 through 142 are admitted.
Permission to publish, Your Honor.
You may go ahead.
So Ms. Smith, same as before, 121 should be up on the screen here in just a moment. So tell the jury what we're looking at in 121.
This is the jacket the victim was wearing when we located him.
Is this the inside of the jacket, so the lining of the jacket?
Yes, sir.
So point out where you can see any defects in this jacket.
One. Here. Here. This appears to be one here.
Okay. And then moving on to 122.
Up close to that first one. That I pointed.
And would this generally be, since we're looking at the lining of the jacket, would this essentially mean that this would coincide with the victim's back area?
Yes.
Okay. 123,
Close to that one.
124,
Showing the defects right there.
again, is this still looking at the lining of the jacket, which would generally coincide with the back of the victim?
Yes, sir.
125,
Close to that one.
126,
Over here, same back side of the victim.
127,
Up close.
128.
We're here, now we're over here. It's still the same on the back side, and this is the lining.
Sort of would this coincide roughly with the back shoulder? It looks like it's closer to the sleeve here.
Yes.
129,
Up close to that one.
130,
Right, right.
so is this getting closer to the top of the shoulder area of the jacket?
Yes, sir.
Still, are we looking at the lining of the jacket?
Yes, sir.
131,
Close to that one.
132,
Gonna be the hood. With some defects here.
are we looking at the lining of the hood?
Yes.
Okay, 133,
Like that pointed to.
134,
Close to that one.
135, 136. And those last couple, also the inside lining of the hood.
Correct.
137.
This will be the back of the jacket.
Is this just an, oh, I'm sorry.
Here, one here.
Essentially an overview of the back of the jacket.
Yes.
138,
First one, up.
139,
Second one in the corner. Still on the back of the jacket.
140,
Here, now we're over here.
141,
Still here.
and then 142.
Here's the defect. I was trying to see where at on the jacket.
Does it appear that this is closer to the zipper?
Yes,
Can you see the zipper there at the top?
here's the zipper.
Okay. Thank you. And Your Honor, now I would like to approach the witness with People's Exhibit 143.
All right, you may go ahead.
You had a chance to look at People's 143. Do
Yes, sir.
you recognize it?
Yes, sir.
What does it appear to be?
Pair of pants.
Photo of the pair of pants?
Correct.
Are these the pants that the victim was wearing when you went to the scene on March 17th and then the autopsy on March 18th?
Yes, sir.
Did you also collect those items?
I did.
Is it a fair and accurate representation of the pants as you saw them on March 18th?
Yes.
And at this time, I would move for admission and permission to publish 143.
Exhibit 143 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Permission to publish, there we go. Just generally give us are these nylon sort of athletic pants?
Yes.
Does it appear that there's, it's hard to tell, right? There's a lot of staining on this from decomp, I would assume.
Yes, sir.
But does it also appear that there's white stripes running down the legs of these pants?
Yes, two on each side.
Can you point those out for the jury, please?
Here's one right here and then the other one's right here.
Okay. All of these items that we just looked at, so the pillow, the blankets, the t-shirt, the hoodie, and these pants. I think it may be obvious, but were these heavily soiled with decomposition from Gannon's remains?
Yes.
Associated with that heavy decomposition, was there quite a smell associated with them?
Yes.
Is that why we're not bringing those items into the jury to let them have to deal with that as well?
Yes.
Your Honor, finally, would like to have my investigator approach the witness with People's Exhibit number 86.
All right, may go ahead.
And just so that we're all clear, this is the item that we talked about prior to.
Okay. Is there any objection as to the foundational issue of this defense? Okay. Mr. Allen?
Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. We can watch this whole trial together.
So, Ms. Smith, our investigator Cecil Weir is going to help with this item because of the size of it. But if you could just take a look at it and let me know if you recognize People's Exhibit 86.
And I didn't hear your question over the paper.
Yeah, that paper was a little loud. Do you recognize People's Exhibit 86?
I do.
What does it appear to be?
The olive green suitcase that was at the scene
Did you collect this scene at the River Bridge or was it at autopsy?
at the River Bridge.
Okay. Does it appear to be in the same or substantially the same condition today as the day that you recovered it?
Yes.
Your Honor, at this time, I'd move for admission of People's Exhibit 86.
Mr. Cook,
Objection.
Exhibit 86 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Your Honor, because of the decomposition material on this item, we are asking for permission to not leave this here in the courtroom, but I would like to have permission for our investigator, Mr. Weir, to show this item to the jury by holding it up. It is a larger item.
You may.
Uh-huh.
Go ahead.
Thank you.
I'll hold the black.
I mean, she looks like she's taking a nap. Just waiting to see which screen they're going to show this on. If any, they're probably not going to see it. We can't see the jury. Here's Gannon's dad, L. I don't know exactly where. Sorry, now the lawyer's in the way. Right behind there. I believe Landon, Gannon's biological mother. There goes the suitcase, you guys. Eek. I believe Landon is also in the courtroom. I can't see her right now. But I believe she's also there. Oh my word, we're seeing the suitcase. Okay, it's going to be carried around. Sorry about that. I should have like zoomed in here. Here it comes. Sure. Yeah. Letecia, we're all watching you.
Thank you, ma'am. Does that suitcase have a broken handle on it as well?
Yes, sir.
If Mr. Weir holds that up, can you point that out to the jury?
This handle right here. Not attached.
And then just so that we're all clear, although I think it's probably fairly obvious, but we need to build a record as well. All of the items that you saw out at the Escambia River Bridge, so the 2 blankets, the pillow, and Gannon's remain inside of this suitcase.
Correct.
And if I wasn't clear before, the clothing that I mentioned and that had heavy decomposition material on them, was that true also for the blankets and the pillow?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And so at this point, Judge, I would ask if we can just have our investigator take that item back out before it starts to,
Is there an objection?
No, Your Honor.
All right, you may. Go ahead.
The defense attorney.
Just take that.
he's trying to collect the baggage or the paper too. Stephanie?
Thank you, Maurice. You say thank you, G, for all your hard and impeccable work you do for us always. I loved your murder presentation. 1:45 a.m. Yeah, my coffee pot is ready. Nice. Thank you for being here with us. From all over the world. From Australia.
All right, Ms. Smith, just a couple more questions for you. How long have you lived in that, I guess, greater Pensacola area?
45 years.
Are you familiar with several bridges in that area?
Yes.
The Escambia River Bridge obviously is the one that we've been talking about today, correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there also an I-10 bridge
Yes.
and then a 98 Pensacola Bay Bridge essentially? Of those bridges in the area, is the Escambia River Bridge less traveled or more traveled than the other bridges?
Less.
Less traveled. Are you also familiar with I-95?
Yes.
Where's I-95?
It goes along the east coast of Florida.
Okay. All right, that would be my questions for this witness.
Cross-examination, Mr. Cook.
Your Honor, I don't have any questions for this witness. Thank you.
All right. Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Smith? Just write it down, pass it forward. Looks like
In
we
this-
might have a couple, so just write them down, pass them forward, and I'll have somebody collect them.
In this state, the jurors get to ask questions. Thanks, Anna.
You want me to retrieve them, Your Honor, or?
Yes, yeah, just put them on the bar in front of you there, pass them forward, put them on the bar in front of you, and then Mr. Allen, if you would retrieve those, please, and counsel approach.
Yes, yes. That's great that the jury can ask questions, right? Amanda's like, I gotta ask again. Why is she not sitting with a lawyer? Literally, no one knows the answer to that. Unless it's because they're worried that she's going to act out or something. I don't know. Yes, Christine says that's interesting. They can ask questions. Is the volume of my voice compared to that? Is that okay? I hope so. Hope I don't give you guys a fright when I talk. Prof's like, Letecia looks great in orange. She was even in lime green before, but yeah, orange. Don't worry, Kez Chick. There's always replays, recaps, things like that. Don't worry about it. Thank you for being here, though. Jinxie says, is it true that Letecia has been wearing earplugs? That's a rumor, but from what I hear, yes, but I don't know. I can't confirm that. That would be ridiculous, though. I would hate that.
Ms. Smith, was the suitcase cleaned? It appears cleaner.
No, it was not cleaned. It was kind of hard to see through the plastic.
All right. And this is a timeline question. You visited the discovery site on March 17 of 2020, and the autopsy was on March 18 of 2020. Let's start there. Are those 2 dates accurate?
Yes,
And so you already knew on March 18 of 2020 that it was Gannon?
they didn't know for sure. They went by some pictures, and then I'm not sure what their procedures are for identification.
All right. I will allow reasonable follow-up as to those questions only. Mr. Allen?
Just on that last question, when we were talking about identification of the remains, was that just a tentative identification,
Yes,
not a finalized identification? Do you know that a finalized identification came sometime later?
yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Cook? All right. Thank you,
Leticia's
Ms.
here.
Smith. You may step down. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Here we go. This is Letecia in the corner. Look at her face. Look at her. Oh, my word. Goodies gumdrops. Cool name.
Morning, Your Honor. People call Trevor Seifert to the stand.
Trevor Seifert.
Mr. Seifert, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Morning.
Good morning.
Could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your first and last name?
My name is Trevor Seifert, spelled Trevorseifert.
I just mispronounced your name, so I apologize.
That's okay.
What is your occupation?
I'm a senior crime laboratory analyst with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement.
And how long have you been with the Florida Department of Law Enforcement?
Just over 17 years.
And what are your specific roles within that title?
Up until September of last year, I was in the biology section of the Pensacola Regional Operations Center. And in the biology section, we do DNA analysis.
And what kind of experience and training do you have in the field of DNA analysis?
Education-wise, I have a Bachelor's of Science in Biology from Southern Oregon University and a PhD in microbiology and immunology from the University of Florida. At the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, I also went through a one-year training program in forensic biology.
And does the field of DNA analysis include the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Yes.
And have you been practicing in that field within the role that you just described? And approximately how many investigations have you been involved in where you've done some DNA testing in the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Hundreds of cases, and we actually count the number of samples that we analyze, and it's well over 8,000.
And do you have some continuing education that you participate in to stay up to date in that field?
Yes, we have required annual continuing education, and we keep up to date with current literature.
And have you been qualified as an expert in a court of law to testify in the field of forensic DNA analysis?
Yes, in the Florida 1st and 14th Circuit,
Approximately how many times?
approximately 55.
First time in Colorado, I take it?
Testifying, yes.
Okay. At this time, we asked the court to allow Mr. Seifert to testify in the field of forensic DNA analysis as an expert.
No objection. All right, just a minute. Ladies and gentlemen, a person may be qualified as an expert by education, experience, skill, or training. You are not bound by the testimony of a witness who has testified as an expert. The credibility of an expert's testimony is to be considered as that of any other witness. You may believe all of an expert witness's testimony, part of it, or none of it. The way you give the testimony is entirely your decision. Mr. Young?
Thank you, Andy. Could you please educate us in the field of DNA? What is DNA? Where does it come from? That kind of thing.
Sure. DNA stands for deoxyribonucleic acid. It is a molecule that is found in every cell of your body except for mature red blood cells. It carries the instructions for the development structure of all living organisms. At FDLE, Florida Department of Law Enforcement, we do what is called STR DNA analysis. And STR stands for short tandem repeats. Short tandem repeats vary between individuals, and the number of repeats at markers that we look at are what differ between individuals and create their unique profile. We look at 21 different areas in the DNA, which I'll call markers, and 3 gender markers that can tell us whether the DNA is consistent with a male or a female. In order to develop a DNA profile, I will take a sample from biological material and do chemical processes which will break open the cells, releasing the DNA into a solution. I then place this solution onto an instrument that quantifies the amount of DNA that I was able to obtain from the sample. And if I reach a high enough threshold, I can then use a process called polymerase chain reaction, which amplifies each of the 21 markers that I'm looking at millions of times with a fluorescent tag that enables another instrument, a genetic analyzer, to measure the length of each of these fragments, which determines the number of markers, number of short tandem repeats, and gives us a profile for the individual or the sample.
Can you talk to the jury about the uniqueness of these profiles that you've been talking about?
Yes, depending on the number of markers that I'm able to generate a profile from, statistics differ with how unique it will be. But overall, a DNA profile of an individual is unique to that individual, and only a identical sibling will have the same DNA profile.
And where do we get this uniqueness from? Where does our DNA come from?
Half of your DNA comes from your mother, half of your DNA comes from your father. And so the combination of the DNA from both, so you have 2 copies of DNA, 2 copies of these markers. And so at each of these markers, I will get a number of repeats. So one marker may have 5, let's say 5 of these short tandem repeats from your mother and 10 from your father. So at that marker, you would be considered a 5-10. And what we're looking at when we're comparing profiles from a questioned sample to a known individual, we're looking at those numbers and matching those numbers.
So if we have, for instance, a body found where we don't know who that person is, would we be able to create a profile if the DNA was in good shape and then determine who the parents of that individual were, or vice versa?
Yes, we can.
When we talk about the field of forensic DNA analysis, I think you just alluded to it a little bit in your previous answer. Are we talking about having a known DNA profile and then unknown DNA profiles to figure out if there's a match or if there's some consistency between the two?
Yes, so in most cases, we're dealing with evidence from a crime scene, looking for a suspect. So we're looking for the DNA profile from the evidence and then comparing it with DNA profile from an individual said to be involved in the case. In other cases, we're looking at unidentified human remains and comparing that to DNA profiles from individuals that are in a missing persons database.
And so is there databases in the United States, for instance, where there's DNA profiles for unsolved crimes, things like that, where if you develop a profile, you can compare that to a database to see if there's a match?
Yes, there are.
And do agencies across the country submit DNA profiles to those databases?
Yes.
Now, where does this DNA come from? What do people leave behind where you might be able to obtain DNA profiles from?
Well, the majority of it is bodily fluids, blood, semen, saliva, tissue, and we can also obtain DNA from items that people have worn or handled. So epithelial cells or skin cells that are left behind, or hairs.
You alluded to earlier about crime scenes. Are there particular crime scenes that might deteriorate DNA?
Yes, DNA is stable in dry and cold environments. When it's out in the natural environment, DNA is degraded by the human body. Once a cell dies, it releases enzymes that breaks up the DNA. Microorganisms also break up DNA. So in hot, humid, wet, or damp environments, the DNA is degrading rapidly.
I'm going to take you back to 2020, in particularly March 17th of 2020. Were you familiar with a body that was discovered underneath the Escambia Bridge there by Pensacola, Florida, around that time frame?
Yes, I was.
And after autopsy and into the investigation, were you asked to conduct some DNA analysis to confirm the identity of this individual who was found deceased under the bridge?
Yes.
Tell the jury about that. What did you do? And we'll get into your results in a second.
In the first submission of evidence that I received from our medical examiner, I received buccal swabs, which are swabbings from the inside of the cheek of an individual, and a card with a couple drops of blood. I then performed the analysis that I already explained, where I took samples from each, broke up in the cells in solution, and attempted to obtain DNA profiles. The blood sample did not give me enough DNA to amplify and get a profile. And the buccal swab gave me enough DNA to attempt to develop a profile. However, the results were so low that I could not interpret the results.
And what was your understanding of the condition? Did you later determine that this was Gannon Stauch?
Yes.
I'm just going to use Gannon Stauch as who we're talking about here. Did you learn about the condition of Gannon Stauch's body as it laid underneath that bridge, February to March of 2020?
Yes, I heard that it was a body in a suitcase, and based upon the condition of the initial evidence that I received, the buccal swab and blood stain, I could tell that it was a decomposing body.
And was it surprising to you that you were not able to get enough DNA from the buccal swabs and the blood card from autopsy to develop a profile?
No, not at all.
Why is that?
During decomposition, the DNA breaks down, and usually we have to go to a harder tissue such as a bone or teeth.
And is it because of the deterioration that you alluded to earlier, Gannon's body being under the bridge by water in the humidity and heat of Florida?
Yes, and the amount of time.
And I think you just said you had to go to some bone. Tell us about what you did with the bone and why did you go to the bone?
Yes, next I received a rib bone, and I took numerous samples from the rib bone at separate times. So initially I swabbed some of the tissue on the rib bone, took a cutting of the rib bone, and went through the process of trying to get DNA from those. The swabbing of the tissue resulted in not enough DNA to go any further. The cutting from the tissue, I again got a very low amount of DNA, but was not able to interpret a profile. So I went back to the bone again, broke it open and removed marrow and went through the DNA analysis again. And again, was only able to obtain information, but not enough to interpret. Went back to the bone again and actually took pieces of the bone and did a longer process. It takes several days to get a DNA profile from. And with that, I was able to get a partial profile. So a complete profile is information at all 21 of the markers we're looking at. And with this partial profile, I was able to get information at 9 markers. So the difference between the markers is the length. So the longer a marker is, the more likely it's going to be chopped up and not give us any information.
And so when you were able to get these 9 markers you alluded to, this was from a rib bone, correct?
Correct.
Did you also have at least information that there was a tentative identification that this was Gannon Stauch?
Yes, I did.
And did you also have indication that there was a DNA profile developed for Gannon Stauch here in Colorado Springs at the Metro Crime Lab?
Yes.
Did you contact the Metro Crime Lab with the 9 markers of the profile that you developed from the rib bone to see whether or not there was a match with the known profile from Gannon Stauch that we had here in Colorado Springs?
Yes, I did.
And what was the results of that?
I received confirmation back from them that they had a match with the profile that I generated from the rib bone and a case here.
And what does that mean?
That means that the markers that I obtained a profile from matched a standard or a DNA profile that they had developed here in this case.
Was that confirmation, at least for you, that that was the body of Gannon Stauch?
Yes, if it were a case that I was working through to the end, I would have continued working to obtain a complete profile from the remains. And then I would also need to obtain whatever piece of evidence they used to get the complete profile from here in Colorado and compare those myself and then perform statistics, which would give you a likelihood ratio on how good of a match it was.
And do you know whether or not anyone from Colorado Springs did exactly what you just described?
I assume that they did, but I do not know.
Essentially, when you made this determination that the 9 profiles from the rib bone matched the known profile for Gannon Stauch, did the El Paso County Sheriff's Office and the Metro Crime Lab here in Colorado Springs kind of take it from there and take over the investigation?
Yes.
Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thank you.
Cross-examination, Mr. Tellini?
No question.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Mr. Seifert? Seifert, sorry. No? All right. Thank you, Brady. You may step down. Council approach, please.
It travels.
All right, prosecution, call your next witness, please.
You can call Alexis Heck to stand here.
Last name again?
Heck?
Heck. Thank you.
Hack. Hack. I'm sorry. P-A-C-K.
Ms. Pack, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, ma'am. Up here. You swear affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Could you introduce yourself to the jury and spell your last name for the record?
Alexis Pack, P-A-C-K.
And where do you live, Miss Pack?
Pensacola, Florida.
First time in a courtroom?
Yes.
Everyone's really nice in here, I promise, okay?
Okay.
Miss Peck, what do you do for a living?
I just stay at home now. I did work at the hotel as a front desk agent.
Okay. And when you say the hotel, are you talking about the Candlewood Suites?
Yes, sir.
And which Candlewood Suites did you work at?
The one in Pensacola on Davis Highway.
And how long were you working there?
I worked there for 3 years.
Were you working there back on February 4th of 2020?
Yes, sir.
And as part of that job at the front desk, would you routinely check people in, check people out, that kind of thing?
Yes, sir.
And would you fill out paperwork as you did that?
Yes.
May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Me?
That's where Letecia stayed in Florida on a road trip.
It's in a plastic folder. You can pull out that document if you like. I believe it's a 3-page document. Do you recognize that?
Yes.
And what is that?
It's the form that they fill out whenever they check in.
And did you fill that form out?
I did not.
Okay, who filled that form out? Do you know?
It's the person who checks in. They fill it out.
Let me have you turn to page 3 of that document. You see that computer printout?
Yes.
Do you see your name on that computer printout?
Yes.
Do you see the name of the person who checks someone in on that computer printout?
I do.
Okay. So tell us about that. Who checked this person in that's related to this document, and then who checked them out?
So there was a lady named Sharon who worked there who checked her in, and I checked her out.
And are these documents that you use with anytime someone checks in or checks out of the hotel?
Yes.
And are these routinely used in the course of business at the Candlewood Suites?
Yes.
And does this accurately depict the check-in and check-out for the person named in this document back on February 4th, 2020?
Yes.
We would move to admit People's Exhibit 181.
Defense?
Objection.
Exhibit 181 will be admitted. Go ahead.
And before we publish that, I'd like to show you another exhibit if I may approach, Your Honor.
You may.
Show you People's Exhibit 221. It's already been admitted into evidence. You recognize this overhead photo here?
Yes.
And I don't want to be Captain Obvious here, but there's a label that says Candlewood Suites there.
Yes.
Do you recognize that? Is that where the hotel is located at?
Yes.
And is that where you were working on February 4th, 2020 when this person checked in?
So I don't think I was working when she checked in, but when she checked out.
Did she check out on February 4th, 2020?
So I'm not sure if she checked out with me or if the housekeeping staff told me she was gone, and that's why I checked her out.
We'll get to that in a second.
Okay.
Just for the record, I'll publish to the jury again. Okay, we can publish People's Exhibit 181 now. It's kind of tough to see on the TV screens. Can we zoom in on that a little bit, please? So let's start with the top part of that exhibit, and you can look at the one, the actual exhibit in front of you, if you like.
Okay.
What is the name of the person who checked in back on February 4th, 2020?
I don't know how to say the last name,
Okay.
but it's Letecia Stauch.
Okay, you did a pretty good job with the last name. And again, I know it says there, but where is this person from, at least what they're saying when they check in?
South Carolina.
And they, does this information also show the method of how they paid for the room and things like that?
Yes.
Down below it says, where it says reservation information,
Mhm.
it says company, and it says Ford Motor Company. Where did that come from? Do you know?
So that's a fixed rate we would have had in the system for that company.
And so whoever is getting the reservation, would they have to tell whoever's working the front desk that I'm with the Ford Motor Company to check in?
So yes, or if they make it online, they can put that in themselves if they have the rate code.
But you get that from the person, whoever's making the reservation. That's not something you just put in there.
No.
If we go down a little bit, can we just scan down that first page? Right there's good, thanks. Is there information when they check in to describe what vehicle they're driving?
Yes.
And what kind of vehicle did the person say they were driving, or this Letecia Stauch say they were driving?
A Nissan Altima.
And does anybody check to see if that's accurate?
No, sir.
If we can now go to page 2 of that document. Again, we have page 2 of this exhibit. Again, Ford Motor Company, is that again the same information
Yes.
that you get from the person who's checking in?
Yes.
Can we go back to the first page? I forgot to mention something on that. Thanks. Or just the top part. Appreciate it. You're familiar with the rooms there at the hotel?
Yes.
What is a standard suite 1 queen non-smoking mean?
It's just one queen bed.
Standard room, I take
Yeah.
it? Okay. I went to law school, so that's how I come up with these great questions. Can we go to page 3 of that document now? We rotate that so we can, I'm asking you to do a lot. I appreciate that, Ms. Grantiano. It won't rotate, huh? All right. Well, let's look at this page here. Does it have the times that the person actually checked in and the times they checked out?
Yes, sir.
Could you please tell the jury the time that Ms. Stauch checked in to the hotel?
It looks like it was 12:23, I think.
Okay. And you base that on the 0023 that we see on the document?
Yes, sir.
And that would have been on what date?
February 4th, 2020.
And then your name is associated with the checkout. What time did this individual check out?
11:11.
And that top line, I know we can't see it because it's documented. Could you read what the description says?
Where it says checkout.
It says Stauch, Letecia.
Okay, it says Stout Letecia checking out on 2/4/20, having arrived 2/3/20.
Now, does that indicate when the reservation was actually made?
Yes.
So the actual checkout time would have been what is documented on this page.
Correct.
Can you tell by looking at this page what time the reservation was actually made?
11:43.
So roughly a half an hour before she actually physically checked in?
Yes.
Does this document indicate to you how many guests would have been checked in on that date?
No.
If you go down to that back to the first page, kind of the second area on that first page, we can zoom in on that, please. Thanks. Scroll up a little, please. And keep going. Yep, there we go, right there. Do you see where it says number of guests?
Yes.
What does it say there?
1.
And do you know when this document was signed? Was it when they check in or when they check out?
When they check in.
Those are my questions, Your Honor. Thanks.
Defense cross-examination.
Thank you. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning.
My name is Will Cook. I'm an attorney for the defense. I'm going to ask you a few questions, okay?
Okay.
He's going to ask questions finally.
So you had nothing to do with the check-in in this case,
No, sir.
okay? And you can't remember if you actually checked out on February 4th
No,
or the 5th, this Letecia Stauch?
no, sir.
Would you be able to recognize the person that checked out or you checked out on that date?
No, sir.
Okay. In fact, you may not have ever even seen this person.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Redirect.
No, thanks, Your Honor.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Pack? No? Great. Thank you, ma'am. You may step down. Watch your step as you step down. All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our morning recess until about 10:45. If I can have all of the jurors back in the jury room at 10:45, we should be able to start on time at that point. Again, don't discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. And with that, we'll see you back at 10:45. All rise for the jury, please.
Okay, so now there's a break. Let's take that banner off. Thank you so much all for being here. So far we had Kelly Smith, Trevor Seifert, and Alexis Pack as witnesses. Amazing that finally the defense asked a question, huh?
That was 104. Do you want us to take it out of that pile of photos?
Yes, please.
Yep. So we'll do that over the break.
Okay, all right. Defense.
Nothing at this.
Okay, all right. Court will be in recess. Thank you.
Court's in recess, everyone. Okay, so now I can remove this and do like that. Cool. Okay, so they're taking a little break. So now it's tea break time, everyone. So let's go to this lady is covering it so well on Twitter. Anna, thank you so much. You say, been a long time lurker, heard about you from Pascal, enjoying your live stream, Gisela. Thank you so much. And thank you so much for being here. Really appreciate it if you're brand new here. My name is Gisela K. I am South African living in the Netherlands. And if you don't know anything about this case, we have done a deep dive on this case many times. There's a whole playlist for you as well. There's hours worth of content, and there's also summaries if you don't have hours. So don't worry if you feel like, oh no, I don't have hours. There's little summaries for you, 18 minutes. It's, timestamp for you so you can go to the points where you want to be. I wanted to quickly show you this, which is Nicole Fierro. Hold on one second. Okay. Nicole Fierro is a KDVR anchor, reporter, award-winning journalist with a passion for problem solving. Okay, so this is her on Twitter. If you don't follow me on Twitter yet, come follow me. It's at True Crime Gisela. So she's morning recess until 10:45 a.m. So there's about a 20-minute break now. And so if you are on Twitter, you can follow along here as well as we go. And they say Alexis Pack is the next witness. That's who we just saw. Okay, Alexis Pack worked at the Candlewood Suites in Pensacola as a front desk agent back in 2020. And on February 4th, 2020, paperwork shows that Letecia Stauch checked into the Pensacola Candlewood Suites hotel. She got a fixed rate for a Ford Motor Company with her reservation. Reservation said Stauch was driving a Nissan Altima. Pack says they don't check cars to confirm. She said Stauch's reservation was made at 11:43 and she checked in at 12:23, roughly half an hour before. Now there's morning recess, okay? And before that, we had a DNA expert, Trevor Seifert. Okay, so let's just go like this. There was also Kelly Smith. Okay, so let's just go down a little bit. Just a recap for those of you who missed the beginning of this morning session. Thank you for being here. We're streaming the whole trial together. Okay, so Just hold on. This was the detective. Okay. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Carrying on. Thank you, Rob. I'm glad you guys like the banner. I want to actually see what happens if I put it on now. Yeah. That's pretty nice. We can have it there. Okay. So detective putting on gloves and says, okay, so let's just look at this. Today's date is the 7th. So we got to go to, I'm just trying to make sure that we find the right day right here at the bottom. There we go. T-shirt found on Gannon showed defects that coincided with injuries on his body. Autopsy was conducted on March 18th, 2020, the day after Gannon's body was found. And Letecia Stauch trial day 4. Day 4 starting with Kelly Smith, a crime scene technician for Santa Rosa County Sheriff's Office. Someone is asking, is that in Florida or where? I'm not too sure. Tanya, welcome to membership. I'm not. T-Pain says they have to take a break so she can go back into a well for a bit. I know, right? And Chloe, thank you so much. Sweet tea for you, G. Love the trial with you. Thank you, Chloe. Oh, you know I'm going to get some boba tea with that. Thank you so much. I love boba tea. Okay. And TextLex, welcome to membership as well. If you guys want to see us all members get snarky, if you're a new member today, go and check out the members only playlist, okay? So pictures now show jacket the Gannon was wearing when found. I know we can't see the pictures as we go through things. She's pointing to defects in the jacket too. Since we are looking at the lining of the jacket, this points to Gannon's back. Gannon was wearing athletic pants. Smith and Allen say there was a strong odor on the pillow and all of Gannon's clothes from decom. And that is why they are just showing pictures and not bringing the clothes in for the jury to see or smell. Smith looking at the suitcase in the courtroom. So here they were carrying around that suitcase and they said the handle is broken. Yes, we have a Santa Rosa in CA2. Okay. Ooh, Brenda, that was me. You know, when I tried boba tea was when we covered the Kylie Rodney case. And then they said that Kylie Rodney worked in a boba tea shop. And I'm like, what's boba tea? Everyone's like, what do you mean? What's boba tea? Since then, I've tried it and I really like it. Didn't like my first one, but I like it now. Yes. So, okay, back to the case here. We've got at least a picture here of the suitcase. Okay. We didn't see much and it was wrapped in plastic, but it's an olive green, quite a large suitcase actually, right? They say suitcase is large, has a broken handle. 2 blankets, pillow, and Gannon's remains were all found in the suitcase. Wow. Defense attorneys do not have cross-examination questions for Smith. Jurors are submitting questions for the witness. Then the prosecution called up Florida Department of Law Enforcement analyst Trevor Seifert as the next witness. He does DNA analysis, is a senior analyst. He's analyzed well over 8,000 DNA samples and worked on hundreds of cases. He's testifying as an expert in the field of DNA analysis for this trial. He says DNA is stable in dry and cold environments. When it's out in the open on hot, humid, wet, or damp environments, DNA degrades rapidly. He received swabs from the inside cheeks of Gannon and a card with a blood sample. Based on the condition of these samples, he could tell it was a decomposing body. He wasn't surprised that the samples didn't give him enough to make a DNA profile because of how deteriorated Gannon's body was when found. He had to get samples from Gannon's rib bone to do more DNA testing. And he had to go back to the bone. He had to break the bone and get marrow, and went back another time and took physical pieces of the bone and did a longer process with that could get a partial DNA profile. There was a DNA profile for Gannon already created by the Metro Crime Lab in Colorado Springs. They matched the DNA profile created with Gannon's rib in Florida. No cross-examination from the defense, as we saw again. They didn't, it feels like they gave up, right? They're just like, no questions. I know they're only there, they're saying not guilty by reason of insanity, so that's what they're going with. There's not too much they're going to ask, I suppose. But here and there, they do ask questions. Then Alexis Pack was the witness, and we just read through that before I started this whole stream like that. Okay, so now I've got to, sorry, that's why I take the banner off every now and then. It doesn't work out with my head in the way there. All right, so thank you to everyone who is supporting the channel and this trial coverage and everything and sending such sweet messages in general in the chat. If you're a subscriber, if you're new here, everything. And thank you for the super stickers. I really appreciate it. I also see some buy me a coffees and PayPals and things. I really appreciate it. You guys are very sweet. Thank you. So yes, break time noise. Okay. I just quickly want to see here. Just hold on one second. I wanted to actually show you the map as well. So just hold on 1 second here. How much time do we have? We still have just less than 15 minutes. Okay. I just want to see these stickers if I can see them now. So Chloe 1201, you said sweet tea for UG. Love the trial with you. And Anna said, been a long time lurker. Heard about you from Pascal. Enjoying your live stream. Miss E said, I'm so glad you decided to stream the trial. Thank you so much, Miss E. And you also said that you hear that she faked a switch in court. I didn't actually hear that she faked a switch in court. I just see people zoom in and see, you know, that she's like 1 minute she's sort of a little more animated talking to attorneys, and the next minute she's back to like bored Letecia, right? Wow. Jinxie asked, is it with a super sticker? Is it true that Letecia's been wearing earplugs? That I haven't been able to confirm. Some people in the chat were saying yes, some no. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that one. If you do know, then let me know. I don't think that would be allowed though. If I went with my gut, I don't think so. Okay, and Amy K says 1 year and 1 day a member. Amy K, thank you so much for being a member for a year and a day already. That is amazing. Thank you so much. Maurice from Australia said, thank you, G, for all your hard and impeccable work you do for us always. I loved your Murdoch presentation. If you guys missed my Murdoch presentation, it was a docu-style video I released yesterday, so go check that out if you haven't yet. And to everyone else, I think I read them earlier. Christina said, I'm glad to watch this with my Grizzly fam. Thank you for your commitment and time. Justice for Gannon. So thank you so much. Yeah, that's why I decided this was great that I could stream the trial so we could all be here together. Why would we want to be anywhere else? We want to be here together as a Grizzly True Crime community, right? Okay, so we've got that. Now, let's quickly, let me just move this back over here. Minimize this a little bit like this. Sorry, I'm glad I got 3 screens. Otherwise, damn, how would I cope with all this? Okay, and now let's do a little bit of map time. Okay, and we are here on the map. So let's quickly have a look at this. So we've got, I've got 6627 Mandan Drive, Colorado Springs. That is, so I'm going to close this now and I'll just walk you through it. Okay, so you could see how far Letecia drove. We thought Brian Laundrie drove far. My goodness, this woman drove cross country with Gannon's remains in a suitcase. Oh my gosh. Okay, so yes, and if you watch the trial here with me on tea breaks and things like that, we're going to sometimes recap. We're going to look at the maps, some parts of the probable cause affidavit, maybe some of the letters that Letecia's been writing in jail before this trial started, things like that. So, okay, hold on. Now I'm lost. Okay, we're here. So 6627 Mandan Drive is where Al Stauch, Letecia Stauch, Gannon, Lena, which are Al's biological children, and Harley also had a room there. I don't know if she stayed there permanently, but she was 17 at the time, so maybe, right? I just want to see this. Okay, Marie says CC is in court and then doing a daily update says she has got like I heard that from Crime Curious, right? Interesting, very interesting. Okay, so this is where the crime happened. Gannon Stauch, 11 years old, was murdered in his bedroom. He was stabbed 18 times and also shot at 3 times. Wow, okay. And there's a lot of talk of burning as well, and we could hear on the audio as well, so that's scary too. That was from the day before. So this is where the crime happened on January 27th, 2020. Then what Letecia did on that day was drive to she drove up and down to a Petco. Let's just see how far north that Petco is. Look how far north the Petco is. This was on the Monday. So she booked Gannon off from school. And then she decided to take a nice, long, weird drive to Petco. I believe it was that one, because that's the type of map time we did before as well. That's where I found it last time too. And now again, I'm like, okay. So they gave us the address and everything. So Petco up here, drove there. And she went there twice, which is so dodgy on the day. I still don't know exactly what she was doing there twice. But we heard a lot of details there on the phone calls as well from day 2 and 3. You know, she's looking at the window the whole time, looking at the car to see if Gannon was getting out the car or not. And Al was like, why are you looking to see if he gets out the car? He's never done that before, right? So anyway, so he was still alive, yes. And then she put him in the car and went to Petco twice. And then the murder happened at the house. Then what she did the next day, because Al Stauch was deployed for the National Guard. Welcome to membership, Squally. So he was actually deployed in Oklahoma at the time. That's from memory. Am I correct? Oklahoma, right? Okay. And so she had to fetch him from the airport. So the next day, she drove to the airport, to Colorado Springs Airport, January 28th. And she left the car there with Gannon's remains in the car, probably already in the suitcase, right? She left her car at the airport and then went upstairs and rented a vehicle, and then picked up her husband in the rental vehicle. And when asked why pick me up in a rental vehicle, she said she doesn't want to add miles to her Tiguan. But he didn't see the Tiguan, which is her vehicle. So they drove home in the rental car, and he had already known that Gannon was missing, because the day before she'd called 911, she'd called him, texted him, said, well, he didn't come back after playing video games. He said on his phone calls from day 2 and 3 that we heard between Al and Letecia with the FBI's assistance with Al, he said that he found it really weird that she's like, no, he's not going to school because he's got major stomach problems. He's very sick. And then that afternoon, she's saying, well, he's gone to play video games with a friend. That made no sense to Al at all. He was already very suspicious from the start of like, what is going on here? Anyway, so she drove her husband back to the house, and this was like Gannon reported as missing. They thought maybe he, ran off or something happened. And then, yes, Woody says Petco has a lot of cleaning supplies. So then Letecia snuck out of that's how they worded it. She snuck out of the house that evening and drove that rental vehicle back to the airport, and then gave the vehicle back and picked up her own Tiguan, which had Gannon's remains in. And what she did then was drive north, very far north, actually, quite far. Look there. She went all the way to the South Perry Park Road, this area. And if we remember the phone calls, she was trying to explain the story to Al. And 1 minute she said that, because she went there in the daytime at first, right? She went at night once, and she went in the day once. And she was saying to him, yeah, we were driving there. She was trying to explain why on earth her car would even be tracked there. And she's like, no, we took a drive there, and it was all dark and mountainy. And then the next minute, she's like, I mean, it wasn't dark. It's just like, she was trying to backtrack, but because she realized she slipped up by saying it was dark and mountainy. But in fact, the time that she did drive there, it was dark and mountainy. So she drove to South Perry Park Road, that area. She put her phone on flight mode until January 29th. And she dumped Gannon's body around that South Perry Park Road area. And the police actually found a plank there later, like a wooden plank. Al said he did a whole bunch of handyman type stuff in the garage. He cut wooden planks and things like that. There was a wooden plank with Gannon's blood on it found at South Perry Park Road, but they didn't find his body because by then Letecia had been back there. Now on this trip, she used the Wi-Fi from a massage parlor. She checked her own Ring door camera. She was checking, Amber alerts and just all kinds of weird stuff. We've gone through that before, okay? And I'm just doing a recap here for you with the Maptime in case if you've never seen the Maptime, just of how calculated this woman was. This whole of like, no, she's completely insane, psychotic break. Really? With all this planning? With all of this? I mean, the Maptime alone to me would be like, whoa. If I was on the prosecution side, we're going to do some Maptime and be like, look at this. Look at the Google search history and look at this Maptime. And what she did, because she went to this area twice and going onto flight mode on her phone, then logging onto the Wi-Fi of a massage parlor to quickly check on the Ring camera of the home and then like put it off again, Okay. And eventually she actually, this was on January 28th. She went back there and picked up the bag again with Gannon's remains. And then she went back there on January 31st. Okay. Then she decided on February 1st, you know what a really great idea would be is to go on a road trip. So she picked up the bag January 31st. And the next day, February 1st, she's like, road trip. And she loaded her daughter, Harley, who was 17 at the time, into a white van that she had, I think her aunt helped her rent that, if I remember correctly. And then she decided we're going on a girls trip, road trip time, but she had the bag with the remains in the back of the vehicle, which is why everyone asks, like, did Harley know anything? Did she smell anything? Did she see anything? Did she know anything? I mean, yes, she was a minor, but I believe she's going to testify in this trial. So that's going to be very, very interesting. But Letecia drove all the way to Florida, to Pensacola. Now, the thing is that in renting that white van, do you guys remember the interview, the media interview, where Letecia had her back to the camera that she did? It's speculated that there was like a white van in the background, and that it's speculated she did that interview with her back to the camera like that and called Harley out to be like, come on, tell them where we were the previous day, right? We were hiking, right? And we got Burger King. Remember that? Like, she's coercing her daughter completely into this whole thing to say what she wants her to say. And it's speculated that Gannon's body was in that vehicle at the time when that media interview happened, which is very, very scary to think about. So then after the media interview with her back to the camera and saying the world will sincerely be apologizing to her, okay, then she then drove all the way here. And now we saw a witness today called Alexis, the hotel clerk, even though she didn't see Letecia or remember checking her in or anything herself. She was working at this Candlewood Suites Pensacola hotel. Okay, so that's where Letecia had stayed. And they talked about a check-in on February 4th. So she did a 1,400-mile journey. Now, about 3 miles away at this Escambia River Bridge here is where the suitcase was chucked. Okay? Yeah, hens may tell us there's always a white van. So that's where we've got 2 more minutes. And then Anna P., who bought a super sticker earlier, sent me a video that her friend made of this bridge. So I wonder if we can quickly have a look at it. Just want to
intro before I started the video.
Okay, so but that's where that was. And then just to top off this map time quickly. So she chucked the bag there. Then they drove to South Carolina and Myrtle Beach. And it was on March 2nd. I got to go to my own thing. Hold on. March 2nd, yes, that Letecia was arrested in Myrtle Beach. And how sickening is it that Letecia tried to blame Gannon's disappearance on Gannon's biological mother?
All right. Outside the presence of the jury at this point in time, prosecution,
No,
We
Your
are
Honor, thank you.
back.
defense.
Okay,
All
we
right,
are back,
let's
you
go ahead and
guys.
bring
The
the
court
jury
is
back
back in progress. And so we're going to do that now. I just want to see. Okay. You've already moved this video to the stage. And this one? Okay. I'm going to go like this. There we go. We're back. Yeah, there was no time at all. Time flies when we're doing map time, huh? Sub-channel. White vans, bridges, and Walmart. So I'm glad I could show you all that. Now you know what Letecia was up
All
to.
rise for the jury, please.
Yeah, let's do this one. Ooh, let's zoom in on Letecia. Where? Hurry up. Oh. Look at her, look at her, look at her. Oh, here she is, everyone. And here's Gannon's biological father, L. Stauch. He was on the stand on day
Court
2
will
and
recall
3.
20 CR 1358. People versus Letecia Stauch record should reflect the jury has returned to the courtroom. Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
Thank you, Your Honor. We would call Jason Hess, Hess.
Thank you.
Where's the little arrows here, man? Come on.
Officer Hess, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please, sir. Do you swear affirm the testimony about to give in this man will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Go ahead and have a seat in witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning,
Here we go.
sir.
Good morning.
Will you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
My name is Jason Hess. I'm a lieutenant with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. Last name Hess
How long have you been with the El Paso County Sheriff's Office?
for 26 years.
What kind of roles have you served on with the Sheriff's Office?
I've been a deputy assigned to detentions, assigned to the patrol division, the SWAT team, a supervisor for the SWAT team, a supervisor on patrol, both sergeant role and a lieutenant.
What was your employment back in January of 2020?
I was a sergeant assigned to the patrol division.
What are duties associated with a assigned to patrol?
For patrol, we're responding to calls for service, proactive policing, traffic enforcement, and general community concerns.
Is it fairly common to have a lot of contact with members of the community?
Yes, it is.
Some point, did you get involved in the Gannon Stauch missing child investigation?
Yes, I did.
What was your role in that investigation?
I was at the office of the sheriff performing some administrative duties and became aware of the call that had occurred the night before and that an 11-year-old Gannon was reported missing that night. And I started making some phone calls to help further that.
Excuse me, just so we're understanding when this exactly happened, you referenced the night before.
January 28th is when I became aware of it.
So you became aware on January 28th?
Yes.
And the call actually occurred on January 27th
Correct.
of 2020?
Correct.
Did you have an occasion to call a female at a particular phone number that you understood to be the stepmother of Gannon?
Yes, I did.
You remember the phone number that you called?
I do not remember the phone number.
Yeah, okay, we'll come back to that. How did you obtain that phone number?
It was from the previous call for service records that we have internally from the call that had occurred.
When you called the person, did that person expect you to be calling, or was this just a cold call?
It was a cold call. I was just following up on information.
Who were you trying to get a hold of?
I was trying to get a hold of the parents of Gannon or the person that had called in the original report, Letecia.
Did you identify the person that answered the phone?
Yes, as best you can over the phone by just asking questions.
So what, describe male or female?
Female?
Did you have subsequent contact with that person face to face?
Yes.
The voice that you heard on that particular call, did that coincide with a person that you met face to face?
Yes, from what I could tell.
And so the person that you were talking to on that phone call, who was that person?
Letecia.
Letecia Stauch?
Yes.
What did you want to gather from Letecia Stauch at that particular time?
The first thing I wanted to know is had Gannon returned home? And if he had not, had she learned any information or got any other information as to where he might be?
What information did Letecia Stauch give you during that phone call?
That he had not returned home and she had no further information.
Did she also make reference to the fact that deputies had searched the home the night before?
Yes, one of the procedures that we do is to conduct a search, and I wanted to make sure that had occurred. So I asked her if deputies had searched the home, and she said that they had.
Did you get from her permission to put Gannon's photo out in the media?
Yes, I did.
Did she give you a photo, or did you already have one?
I do not recall if I asked her to send one or if one was obtained during the original report, but we did have a photo, and I provided that to our public information officer to push that out to media and social media resources to get his photograph out there and available.
And did that in fact occur, that a photo of Gannon was pushed out?
Yes, pretty quickly that occurred.
Did you do any searches yourself on that January 28th day?
Yes, after the photo went out to the media, some tips had come in about people seeing a child walking in certain areas, and I drove to some of those areas and began searching.
So let's talk a little bit in bigger picture here. The report was either missing or runaway child, is that right?
Yes.
Does that sort of guide you in those early stages of a case like that as to what you might be doing?
Yes, and then the age of the child is also a major factor.
So tell the jury about that, those factors that you would be considering and how that would potentially drive the investigation in those early stages.
In this particular case, an 11-year-old child who is unaccounted for during winter months, so cold, and now overnight is at an extreme risk, and they're considered that within our agency. So additional resources are immediately put into place to start that search, which would be different than a 16-year-old who's run away 5 times in the past and has come back a day later. So different styles of approach to those.
And as it relates to the information you had, who was it that reported that Gannon was either missing or had run away?
His stepmother, Letecia.
On that same day of January 28, 2020, did you respond to Starbucks on Mesa Ridge Parkway?
Yes, I did.
Why did you go to Starbucks?
I learned that some of the detectives had come out to meet with Gannon's parents and speak to them. And I went over there to see if there was anything else I could do on efforts with doing searching or canvassing.
Did you actually see the parents of Gannon Stauch at that time?
Yes, I did. I sat at a table with our 2 detectives and them.
The person that you had been on the phone with earlier the morning of January 28th, and now the person that was at Starbucks, was that Letecia Stauch?
Yes, it was.
Do you see her here in the courtroom today?
Yes, I do.
Will you identify her to the court and to the jury by where she's sitting and what she's wearing?
Sitting over on our far right against the wall in a pink shirt.
I would ask that the record reflects he's identified the defendant.
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
At some point during that contact with the father and the defendant, were you able to look at what was described to you as Gannon's phone?
Yes, I did.
Why did you do that?
Trying to determine if he had searched anywhere on like a Google Maps feature where there would be a history that might direct me on somewhere to go.
Would that be something that you would typically look for if you were looking for a missing child or a runaway child?
Sometimes you don't know where to look, so you look at all available information, and that is one thing that you would look for is did they search somewhere to go or enter a friend's address or something like that that maybe they hadn't walked to before to give them a route or something.
And not necessarily asking you for the address that you found in there, but did you learn of an address and then that ran to ground, meaning it was not really associated with the missing person here?
Correct.
Did the defendant herself at some point show you a picture of somebody that had been reported that looked like Gannon or that she thought was Gannon?
Yes, there had been some Facebook groups that were active in attempts to help locate Gannon, and she had been forwarded a photograph from one of those groups.
Did you do anything with that information?
We took that photograph and attempted to identify if it was in fact Gannon or not, and we were subsequently able to determine that it was not Gannon and that somebody else identified it as their child based on clothing and items they were carrying.
Did you become familiar with Gannon's neighborhood, so Lorson Ranch area, during this part of the investigation?
Yes, I did.
Did you canvass that neighborhood?
Yes, I did.
What does that mean to canvass a neighborhood?
There's many parts of it. The typical part that you would assume is police officers knocking on your door, asking questions, asking if you have surveillance cameras that are showing the roadway or sidewalks, driving through areas where kids might play, under bridges, construction sites, things like that.
Did you do those things?
Yes, I did.
Did that lead to any clues that you were readily able to find to locate Gannon?
No, I did not.
In the afternoon time, did you actually go to Gannon's home at 6627 Mandan Drive?
Yes, I did.
Why did you go there?
I wanted to clarify the timeline because I had not been part of the initial part of the investigation on when he would have left the house. So as I knocked on doors at different neighbors, I had a timeline to ask to look at their security camera feeds.
Did you have any contact with people at that residence?
Yes, I did.
Who was there?
There were several people that were unidentified to me. I think friends and family members, Letecia and Eugene.
So the defendant and Gannon's father?
Yes, and their daughter.
Did you try to verify a time from the defendant that would be of note for the investigation?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
Was between 3:15 and 4-ish approximately when he would have left the house.
Did she describe in that statement to you what she was doing when she reports that Gannon left the house?
Between her and her daughter during the conversation, it came up that a candle had been knocked over and there was a burn mark on the carpet, and she had been taking care of that when Gannon left.
Trying to fix that burn area?
Yes.
Did she describe in any detail anything about that candle or burn incident to you?
Not specifically, no.
Okay. Did you ask the defendant what friend's house Gannon may have been heading towards?
Yes, I did.
What did she tell you?
She didn't know.
Did you then return to the house on a later date, January 31st, 2020?
Yes, I did.
Why did you go on that date?
I received a phone call from our investigations division, and they asked me to go to the house and told me that Letecia and some family members might be removing property from the house, and that they thought Letecia and another daughter of hers might be wearing smartwatches that could potentially contain some digital evidence that may be helpful in the investigation.
Did you in fact go to the house?
Yes, I did.
Did you see different vehicles than other times when you'd been in the neighborhood?
Yes, there was a van that was there, and then some other just personal cars.
Let's talk about that van. What do you remember about the van?
It was a not like a U-Haul moving van, but a van that you could, like a cargo van that you could pack stuff in. And they were unloading items from the house and packing it into the van.
Was it a white van?
Yes, it was.
Did you also see a Nissan vehicle there?
Yes, I did. I believe it was silver, if I recall correctly.
I'm sorry, say that last
I
part.
believe it was silver, if I recall correctly.
Okay. Do you remember, was it a Nissan Altima?
Sounds correct, yes.
How many people did you see there that were helping the defendant move things out of the house into the van as you described it?
There were probably 4 or so directly, but there were also other people present. So what each person's role was, I don't know exactly, but I know there were a couple at the van helping load stuff. I believe an aunt that was there as well as her mother.
So let's talk about the aunt. Was that person Brenda Awkward?
I believe so, yes.
And spelling on that, do you remember it off the top of your head? Does ACQUARD sound correct?
Sounds correct.
What vehicle was Brenda Awkward associated with?
Nissan, I believe.
Was she in fact the driver of that vehicle?
I believe so, yes.
Did you talk to her at all? And I'm not asking you for statements, but did you talk to her?
It would have been briefly, yes.
Okay. Other people that you identified that were associated with the defendant and potentially helping her load things into the van? Can you tell us those names?
I do not recall everybody's name, but I remember Harley was there, her mother was there, her aunt. I think there was another male that was there assisting as well.
Harley, who was that in relation to the defendant?
Daughter,
Okay. And then mother, is that Deborah?
yes.
And then you said a male, would that be Dakota Lowry?
I believe so, yes.
Do you know his relation to the defendant?
Not specifically, I thought he was a son, but I wasn't exactly sure.
Okay. Lieutenant, when I was asking you earlier if you remember the number of the person that you called on the morning of January 28th, you said you didn't remember, but if you looked at your report, you might be able to remember.
Yes, I documented that in my report.
I've got your report here. Would showing you that refresh your memory on that point?
Yes, it would.
Or ask for permission to approach the witness for refreshing his memory.
You may go ahead.
Yes,
Does that refresh your memory?
yes, it does.
What number was that?
843-655-7460.
Thank you. I want to get into more detail about the statement that you got from the defendant when you went to the house after that phone call on January 28th. How long would you say that conversation lasted?
Just a couple of minutes.
Do you remember details of what she told you in that conversation?
Some of it, yes.
What do you remember specifically her telling you?
I had asked her if she knew where Gannon had gone, so I had a direction to go to and contact that house or houses in between. She said that she did not know. Her daughter made a comment about her mom being,
Mr. Allen?
I was reading the report and I couldn't tell who he was referring to there.
He said her daughter.
Yeah, so I'm not asking you for any statements right now. From daughter. I'm asking you for statements of the defendant.
okay. She had made mention that she might have got a little excited during the fire during that.
Okay. Did she describe specifically what she did in relation to that fire?
I recall her saying she tried to put it out with a blanket, and originally the blanket caused it to get slightly bigger, and then she was able to put it out.
So basically, was she describing that she was trying to smother the fire?
Yes.
Did she describe, and when I say she again, I'm talking about the defendant, did she describe that Gannon had got something on his shirt?
Overruled. Go ahead and answer.
Yes.
What did she say about that?
It was pretty vague. It was just he had something on the front of his shirt that had gotten on there during the fire incident.
Okay, may I have just a moment here?
You may.
Look at Letecia.
Was there a younger daughter there as well?
Yes,
Did you ever get that daughter's name?
I did not.
Would you say rough age?
Approximately 8.
Did she at some point point to you direction of which direction Gannon may have walked to?
Yes, she did.
And which direction was she generally pointing?
She pointed east from the house, referring to a friend of Gannon's that lived a few houses down.
Okay. Now I want to get into some other information as it relates to your experience and then what you learned in this case. Have you responded out to other calls where a kid in this rough age range is missing or had run away?
Yes, I have.
How many types of those calls have you gone out to, would you say?
It'd be hard to put a number on it, but over my career, a lot, probably in excess of 30 runaway or missing persons style calls.
When you go out to those types of calls, have you had opportunities to observe people's emotional reactions to that sort of an event?
Yes, I have.
Is it fair to say that the emotional reactions can vary?
Yes, it is.
Based on your contact with this defendant in this case, did her reactions and the way that she was interacting with you, was it consistent with other times that you've gone out on these types of calls or different?
Overruled. I don't think Mr. Allen is asking for an expert opinion. I think he's asking for an opinion based on his prior encounters with other individuals. So it goes to weight, not admissibility. Overruled. You can go ahead and answer.
In similar situations where a child as young as Gannon, 11 years old, is missing or has run away for the first time, there's usually a little more emotional reaction, especially when it has now been overnight and a second day. The emotions are usually more visible and present. It's not always the case, but most of the time it is when a parent's child has gone missing and they have no idea where they are now for a period of 2 days.
During your law enforcement career, have you dealt with people that, excuse me, that are dealing with severe mental health disorders or diseases?
Yes, I have.
Can you approximate, or is it too many to even put a number on?
It would be difficult to put a number on that.
Was the defendant in your contact with her on January 28th and on January 31st, did she appear to be suffering from any severe mental health disorder or disease?
Overruled. You
You can
go ahead
answer.
and answer.
It did not appear to me, no.
Did she, when you were talking with her, asking her questions, would her answers logically follow the questions?
Yes,
Did she appear to understand, I guess, what you were asking about?
yes,
Was she able to give you specific answers to those questions?
yes, she was.
Thank you. Probably have your.
Sorry. All right. Cross-examination.
In your experience, how long have you been in law enforcement?
26 years.
In your 26 years, how many people have you dealt with that suffer from dissociative identity disorder?
I wouldn't be able to tell you. I don't know exactly what disorder people may have be suffering from.
Do you know if you've ever dealt with anybody who suffered from dissociative identity disorder?
It's
I would believe I
dissociative,
probably
dude.
come in contact with them, yes.
How many?
I don't know.
No further questions.
That's like my pet
Redirect.
peeve. Not disassociative. Dissociative.
Did the defendant, based on what you just testified to, did she appear to be suffering from dissociative identity disorder?
No.
Thank you.
Do any of the jurors have any questions for Lieutenant Hess? No? All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down. Prosecution, call your next witness, please. Next witness is,
Yes, Your Honor, Leslie Hicks.
thank you.
Yep, Jamie. She's claiming to have dissociative identity disorder, which is not what the
Ms.
three
Hicks, if
mental
you would
health
step forward
evaluations
and raise your
said.
right hand, please, ma'am.
Yes, yes, Christina. DSM-5, baby. Okay, next witness coming up.
Start out there first. Raise your right hand. You swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the stand.
Good morning, Ms. Hicks.
Good morning.
For the purposes of the record, would you state your name?
Leslie Hicks.
And how are you employed?
I'm employed at Academy School District 20 as an assistant principal.
And about how long have you been employed at that school?
At the school, I'm currently at Timberview Middle School, but I was at Mountain Ridge Middle School for almost 25 years. I was there from 1997, with the exception of 2 years.
And in January of 2020, what school were you at?
I was at Mountain Ridge Middle School.
And as an assistant principal?
Correct.
How long have you generally been in that type of role?
At that time, I had been in that role for 3 years.
And prior to that, what sort of role had you had in education in that kind of context?
I was a teacher in several subject areas at 3 different grade levels. I also served as an intervention coordinator at Mountain Ridge prior to the assistant principal role. And I was at Rampart High School for 2 years as an interventionist, but for about 17 years, I was a teacher.
Okay. And in terms of the course of your role as an assistant principal over the years, how many interviews have you been a part of?
Hundreds. I mean, I've interviewed probably hundreds of people, both in the role as a teacher and as an assistant principal and interventionist, probably over the span of that 20 plus years, definitely hundreds of interviews.
And why is that interview process so important for the nature of the work?
Okay, because we're trying to find the best person to educate our children. And it's very important that we put the best people in front of our kids.
Okay. As a part of the open applications for the school that you were at in January 2020, was there an applicant by the name of Letecia Stauch?
Yes, it was.
And for what position did Letecia Stauch apply for?
She applied for a resource teacher, which is a teacher for students that have IEPs or special education.
And as part of that interview process, did you meet in person with someone by the name of Letecia Stauch?
Yes,
And do you see that same person here today in court?
yes, I do.
Can you identify them where they are seated in the courtroom?
Yes, over here.
Okay, and that is your right side? In
That is my right side in the purple shirt.
the purple shirt. Your Honor, may the record reflect that Ms. Hicks has identified the defendant?
The record will so reflect. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, Ms. Hicks, you explained that it's a resource teacher position. What are the roles and responsibilities of that position?
Okay, the role of the teacher in that position is to serve as a case manager for our students with learning disabilities. And that person would teach some classes to help meet the needs of those kids. And in our school, that person also worked as a co-teacher in classes with the general ed teacher and would work in partnership with that person.
And for that particular position, as it relates to working with this particular set of children, would that person also be responsible for making sure that students follow rules?
Yeah, I think every teacher at school is responsible for classroom management, and that's part of the role of a teacher, is making sure that kids are performing the way they need to perform, both behaviorally and academically.
And as part of the onboarding process for employees, are they also given particular guidance about how to report violations from students, that sort of thing?
Yeah, within the school, yes, and that would be something as far as, how we manage that in our own buildings.
Okay. And as part of the interviewing process, what forms of communication did you have with the defendant?
We interviewed in person. She came into the school, and we have a set of questions. We had an interview team. There were 3 of us on the interview team, and we asked her a series of questions that had to do with the topics that you were speaking of, both, how do you manage students academically and provide for them, as well as classroom management and behavior.
So in addition to meeting with someone in person for that interview panel, are communications also done through other forms? What other means?
After the interview or during the
After or
interview?
before, at any point with an applicant?
Before, it would be, actually probably the secretary probably contacted her to set up a time for an interview. And then after the interview, if the candidate is chosen, then I would reach out and I would be checking references and then reaching out ultimately to decide whether we want to move forward with a hire or not.
Your Honor, permission to approach the witness with what has been marked as People's Exhibit 207 previously shown to the defense.
You may go ahead.
Ms. Hicks, I'm going to ask you to look at People's Exhibit 207. Take a moment to familiarize yourself with that first page. And I'll ask you to look through the messages that follow and familiarize yourself with those.
I did leave my glasses in my purse. Could I get those? I
Yes.
apologize.
If that would help you.
Yes, it would help.
Under permission to approach.
You may.
I apologize.
It's all good.
Thank you. Okay.
And And Ms. Hicks, I'll actually stop you there on that first, that first page of messages.
Mhm.
Do you recognize the telephone numbers that appear on that page?
Yes, I do.
Which one is your telephone number? Do
My
you recognize-
number is 719-400-8405.
Okay.
Ms.
Uh,
Hicks?
yes.
This is sort of an unfamiliar experience for a lot of people.
Yes.
The lady to your right is taking down everything we say as we say it. So it's important to remember, let the attorney finish the question all the way before you give an answer, and she'll let you finish your answer. It's common in ordinary conversations that we talk over each other, but it makes the court reporter's job really, really hard if you do that in the courtroom.
Gotcha.
Okay?
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
So you recognize a telephone number that's associated that you use, is that correct?
Correct.
All right. And not to read from it, but do you recognize the other telephone number?
Yes.
Okay. And how generally do you recognize that telephone number?
It's been a while since I've looked at this, but I remember the area code, and the number does look familiar to me.
Okay. And what number did you use? Who did you use that number to communicate with?
Ms. Stauch.
Okay. I'll ask you to look through the remainder of the messages to familiarize yourself with them.
Okay.
Right. If I had known, I would have muted it too. If I knew she's really literally going to read a whole number out. Oh my word. We'll have to be
And you'll
careful.
have an opportunity to read them.
Okay.
But I just generally, as you flip through the pages, if you can make sure that they represent a text message exchange that you're familiar with.
Mhm.
Okay.
Okay.
And are they?
Yes.
And are they a fair and accurate depiction of the message exchange you had between yourself and the phone number that you know to be associated with Letecia Stauch?
Yes.
All right, Your Honor, at this time we would move for the admission of People's Exhibit 207.
Defense, exhibit 207 will be admitted. Go ahead.
Okay. And Your Honor, permission to publish.
You may.
Ms. Hicks, messages are going to be displayed behind you.
Okay.
If it's easy for you to stand next to that, you can do that.
Okay.
We may still have a pointer there. You're probably familiar with using a pointer as a teacher. So you want to use that.
Okay.
It's
Great.
pointer time, everyone.
No,
Your
it's
Honor, if you would turn on the.
It is on.
But are the perimeter lights on?
There we go.
Me too, see.
Okay, great. Now, Ms. Hicks, you've explained that your telephone number. We see this first message displayed here on the screen. Who's sending that message?
I am.
Okay, and what does it say? Can you read it for us?
Hi, Tisha. This is Leslie Hicks at Mountain Ridge Middle School. I left you a phone message yesterday, and I'm wondering if you received it. Would it be possible for you to call me today at this number or to email me? I'd like to talk to you about the resource teacher position. Thank you.
All right. And just to make sure that your voice is projecting to all of our jurors, is it possible for you to stand on the other side of the screen? All right. And what date was that message sent by you?
January 16th, 2020.
Okay, and we'll move on to the next message. And again, the telephone number that you see in this message, you're familiar with that number? Okay. And so we see a maybe Nicole. Does that mean anything to you? Okay. What is the response that you receive after you send your first message?
I have iMessages. I will email you.
Okay. And what date was that sent?
1/16/2020.
Okay, great. And we'll move onwards. What's your response?
Great, thank you.
Okay. The following day, you send another response. What did you send on January 17th?
Hi, Tisha. This is Leslie Hicks at Mountain Ridge again. I sent you an email yesterday. Is it possible for you to get back to me today? Thank you.
Okay. And did you get a response?
I emailed you back.
Okay. And was that sent to you the same day?
Correct.
And so, Ms. Hicks, as part of this process, at this point, January 17th-ish, where is the defendant in the application or hiring process at this point?
At this point, she has completed her interview and I'm in the process of checking references.
Okay. And if you want, you can take a seat now. We'll come back to more of the messages. So as part of that application process, you referenced obtaining references. Is that right?
Correct.
Was the defendant able to provide you with some references?
Yes, on her application, she had references, and I was having trouble getting a hold of some of the references. And so through the course of our dialogue, I asked her for additional ones.
Okay. Do you remember a particular reference by the name of Connie Huddle?
Yes.
Do you remember the first telephone number that was provided to you for Connie Huddle?
I remember that it was an area code from South Carolina.
Okay.
I believe it was, I know it started with a six.
And that's
Four-
fine.
Okay.
Fair to say it's been a while since you've seen that.
Yes, it
number.
has.
Okay. And do you recall giving a statement to Detective Marissa Williams on January 31st of 2020?
Yes,
Do you recall giving those specific telephone number to the detective that day?
I do.
And would seeing your statement refresh your recollection as to that specific telephone number?
Yes, it would.
Your Honor, permission to approach?
You may, go ahead.
All right, Ms. Hicks, as far as the first telephone number that was provided to you by the defendant here, does that refresh your recollection?
Yes,
Okay. What was the first telephone number the defendant provided to you for a contact named Connie Huddle?
it was 843-504-6724.
And what happened when you tried to contact that telephone number?
I have a caller ID on my telephone and the name Eugene Stauch came up.
That name?
Other than the last name, I was not familiar with the name at the time. No.
Okay. And I'll take a step back. The first telephone number that you called,
Mhm.
Was there more than one number that you were provided for Connie Huddle?
I don't remember.
Okay. And again, Your Honor, permission to approach?
You may.
Ms. Hicks, do you recall talking to Detective Williams and providing her with a very specific first telephone number?
Yes,
And would reviewing that statement refresh your recollection as to the first telephone number?
yes. Okay.
Okay. Does that refresh your recollection?
Yes,
What was the first telephone number that you called?
843-957-3486.
What happened when you called that first telephone number? Were you able to get through?
No,
What did you ask for after you didn't get through with that telephone number?
I asked if there was a different number.
Okay, and were you provided a different number by the defendant?
Yes,
And from memory, are you able to recall what that second number was?
843-6.
I'm muting the numbers.
04,
I'm muting the numbers.
6724.
All right. And I'll ask you again would seeing a statement of your report refresh your recollection as to that specific telephone number?
Yes,
Okay. And can you review your statement for that second specific telephone number?
yes. 843
I'm
504
going to mute when she reads our telephone numbers.
6724.
Thank you.
Are we good?
A lot of different numbers. You called various numbers as it relates to references.
Yes, I did.
And so now I'll come back to that. The question that I had is, when you were actually able to complete a call, can you tell the jury what you heard on that call?
Yes, a female answered and didn't identify who it was, but I heard children in the background.
And were you, did you ask, what did you do when you
Yes,
heard?
I asked if it was Connie. And if I recall, the person said no. And,
Hold on.
okay,
Wait a minute.
sorry.
That's okay.
Yep.
Ms. Gratiano?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm not asking what the other person said, Your Honor. And
Oh, okay.
but further, it's also not offered for the truth of the matter asserted.
Okay. Well, then where are you going?
I'm just going to ask,
You might want to approach it.
Your Honor, permission to approach.
Okay.
Permission to approach. So, you guys, I've got my perimeter lights on. Okay. Perimeter lights. They're on while we're watching this. And then when we need to, we'll just put them off. Okay. I try to mute some of those numbers. I'll try when I can intuitively realize, wow, someone's going to read out a whole telephone number. I will try my best to mute it for us. I don't think other streams are doing that. If they are, great. But I'm going to try, okay? And don't you lip read now. Yes. Jeanette says, take it from me. When you work with children, a long memory is vital. Right? Steph says, I only had 2 bad teachers in my lifetime. If you guys haven't yet, please like the stream, hit the thumbs up, okay, and share it. Hashtag LeteciaStauchTrial. And you can also share hashtag Gannon Strong, Gannon's Army, Gannon Stauch. But especially the LeteciaStauchTrial so that everyone knows that I am actually doing it, because when I did the recaps and all that, I told everyone I don't stream trials because I haven't ever. But this is the first time I'm doing it, and I'd love for other Grizzlies to know that I'm actually doing it. They'll be like, some of them will be like, but you said you weren't doing it. I know, but we're doing it now. We're in it. Thank you, Copper Horse. Yes. Letecia Stauch Trial is also one that's being used on Twitter. Letecia Stauch Trial, Gannon Stauch, and Grizzly True Crime. Yes. Also, don't show the judge during sidebar. Okay. But now you're making me curious. You're making me curious what's going on. I like how the judge was like, okay, so where are you going with this? Oh no, I know you just told me not to, but you may put it in my head. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay. I'll put it like this. I just want you to take a peek, okay? Yes, exactly. G reserves the right to change her mind. Like right now, we're gonna turn the perimeter lights off again.
Objection sustained.
Ms. Hicks, how long was the duration of that call?
Just a few seconds.
Okay. After that interaction, did you have any sort of concerns about moving forward with the application process as it related to the defendant?
No,
Okay. And why is that? At that point, where were you at in the interview process?
well, the interview had been completed. And as I said, we were checking for references. And so sometimes people give incorrect numbers. And so I asked for additional numbers for references.
In terms of educational background, is that also part of the interview process?
Yes,
Okay. And did the defendant provide you with some sort of information regarding an educational background?
I had access to her resume, yes.
Okay. In terms of the educational background, was there a particular degree that the defendant claimed that she had?
I did say she had a doctorate.
From where?
From Liberty University.
And were you able, as part of the interview process, able to vet that?
That's not my role. Once the Yeah, that's not my role.
Okay. In terms of during the application and interview process, did the defendant ask to be referred to by any other names?
No.
Okay. What about any other educational references, either through speaking with her or through emails, text messages, any other way that she wanted to be referred to as?
She did sign her emails, Dr. Stauch.
Okay. Ultimately, what was the decision with regard to hiring the defendant?
We did eventually offer her a position at
Okay.
the school.
And is that a decision that you unilaterally make?
During the interview process, there are 3 of us that decided that we would like to move forward. And then I do the reference checks, and then I bring that information to my principal, and we decided to move forward.
Okay.
Yes.
And so based on that decision, when would have been the first time that she made contact with either you or the school at that point?
Well, at that point, it's a recommendation for hire goes to our district human resources department, and the rest of the process goes through them. And then once they are have gone through their process, she's recommended to come over to the school.
Okay. And for that, was she recommended to come to the school?
Yes.
And do you recall a rough approximation of when that would have happened?
Yes, the 22nd of January.
Of 2020?
Yes.
If we can project people's 207 again, Your Honor. Okay. Thank you, Ms. Hicks. As we scroll onwards past January 17th, we will move to, we can continue on, and we'll move to, looks like January 20th. There's a message that is sent by the defendant's telephone number. What is that message?
What time do I be there tomorrow?
Okay, and what date is that sent?
That is 1/21.
Okay. And the subsequent message after that, what else does that message, that phone number say to you?
And do I need to bring anything specific? I just hung up with the district and they said to be there tomorrow.
Great. And what was your response?
Hi, Tisha. We're so excited to have you here. The workday begins at 7:30. You don't need to bring anything in particular. We will have a sub there tomorrow that has been filling in. You'll have an opportunity to shadow him and meet the kids, as well as get set up with the things you will need. Sherry Fuller, our SPED department leader, will meet you tomorrow as well. See you soon.
Great. And what was the next exchange that the defendant's telephone number sent to you?
Good evening.
And what date was that sent?
And that date is on the 22nd.
Okay, and can you read?
January.
Great. Can you read the rest of the message?
I wanted to ask your guidance about what to do about tomorrow. I had scheduled that interview at the district office before getting hired. I understand they probably have someone someone in mind, but I don't want to burn any bridges and would like to at least let them know my interest in eventually moving up later, or even if it's a year or so. I know we have to all start somewhere. What do you think is the best approach to take? Thank you.
Great. And what was your response to that message?
Hi, Tisha. It is your choice if you want to choose to interview tomorrow. Please remember that you will need a substitute and sub-plans to cover the classes you will miss. Please let us know if you need assistance with that. Thank you.
Great. And the next message that you received from the defendant's telephone number?
Well, they told me to do the fingerprints too, so I was just trying to do the right thing.
And the message after that?
Okay, I will just try to do the right thing by everyone. I didn't want to stand anyone up and wanted to be loyal to our school too.
Okay. And the next message.
It's 8 a.m. I mentioned it before in our emails, but wanted to make sure to follow the necessary steps. They did say I could do the fingerprints while I'm there, so I could get some link to do the paperwork. I haven't done any of that.
Ms. Hicks, how would you generally describe this type of exchange in these messages?
Overruled.
I would say that they be typical of somebody who might be, who's just a new employee.
Okay. Conscientious, would that? Okay.
Conscientious and wanting to do the, making sure that she's putting herself in her best job.
All right. At some point, was there arrangements made for her to shadow somebody at the school and be present?
Yes.
Okay. And do you recall the last time you saw the defendant in person?
The last time I saw her in person was that Friday morning of the 25th.
And how would you generally describe her demeanor?
She was at work and working and meeting the kids. She was running a class.
And it's a little tricky, but would Friday the 24th sound more accurate?
Oh, yes.
Okay. So Friday, January 24th, her demeanor was appropriate?
Yes.
Okay. Did she ask to be referred to by any other names?
No.
Did she appear to you, based on your work in being around teachers and hiring, did she appear to be going through any sort of mental health crisis?
No.
Okay. Subsequent to seeing her on Friday, January 24th, what was the next contact that you had with her, either in person or through other form?
I received a text message from her on Monday, 27th.
All right. And if we could move to Monday morning, January 27th, through the messages. They should appear on page 5. What time was the message from the defendant's phone sent to your phone on January 27th of 2020?
3 a.m.
Okay. Did you read it at 3 a.m.?
No.
What were you doing? Okay. What did the message say?
I'm sorry for the time of night message, but my stepfather passed away. Someone hit him with a car while he was walking. I can update you at a later time.
All right. Subsequent message that your phone received, what was that message?
The message,
Was it the same? Was it different?
the same message,
Okay. What time was that message?
4:37 a.m.
Okay. So it's exactly the same as the message that was sent at 3 a.m. from the defendant's phone? At some point that morning, did you wake up?
Yes.
Okay. Like a busy assistant principal, were you then able to look at all your messages?
Yes.
Okay. When you had an opportunity to read this message, what was your response?
I responded saying, "Oh my goodness, Leticia, I'm so sorry."
Okay. And we'll move onwards. What else did you say?
And then shall we try to find a sub for you today?
Okay. And about what time is this based on the timestamps we see here?
5:50 a.m.
Subsequent response by the defendant's telephone number. We'll move up. What was that response?
2 question marks. It's apparent all my family lives in the East Coast. I'm trying to find a way to get there.
And what time was that sent?
I was sent at 7:21.
Okay. What was your response to that message?
Okay, I'm just trying to understand your plans so that we can find coverage. Am I understanding that you will not be in today?
And what time was that sent?
7:32.
And the response from the defendant's phone.
Yes, it's my parent. I can't believe I can't believe that would not be an assumption in a time like this.
Wow.
And your response to that?
I'm so sorry for your loss and we will support you, but I cannot make assumptions. I do need some direction from you. We will get a sub today. Please let us know what else you need moving forward.
Okay, Ms. Hicks, you can take a seat now. Thank you. In the text message exchange that occurred on January 27th that morning, how would you describe the tone of that exchange?
Angry.
Okay. In terms of candidates and now a hired candidate contacting you, was your phone number provided for this type of emergency?
Could you repeat the question?
When there is an emergency, as far as whether or not somebody can be at work, what's the procedure? What is that person supposed to do?
Typically, they might contact their supervisor and let them know what's happening. We do have a system to get a substitute, but she wouldn't have gone through that training as yet.
And so instead of going through that process because she hadn't received that training, what other avenue would she have had to inform you of an emergency?
To contact me as their supervisor through either phone or email.
Okay. Had you had any other contact with the defendant after that last exchange we saw in
No.
Eagles 207?
No.
Sure. She guilt tripped the principal too. Wow. Yes, yes, choose joy. And that's when they knew they chose the wrong hire. Can't believe you'd even ask me that
No,
at
we'll
a
pass
time
the
like
witness.
this.
Cross-examination. Do any of the jurors have any questions for Ms. Hicks?
Yes. Hermit crab.
No?
It's me.
All right. Thank you, ma'am. You may
Thank
step
you.
down.
The only person I see in real life is Mr. Grizzly.
Counsel approach, please.
Can you believe this woman she made up the day that Gannon was murdered that her stepfather was hit by a car and killed, and that's why she couldn't come to work that day. And that's before he was murdered. Huh? That is scary, man. But I worry about what she did to Gannon the day before, because there was talk of burns, laxatives, all kinds of stuff. So that's already scary. But my word, this woman is crazy. Whew. And not, the whole not guilty by reason of insanity. I don't mean like that. I mean like
Prosecution, call your next witness, please.
vile. Ooh, okay. We've got another witness coming up. We've got to change our banner.
All right, sir, if you would step forward and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm the testimony about to give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Go ahead and have a seat in the witness stand. Please watch your step as you step into the witness stand. Mr. Allen?
Thank you, Your Honor. And just for the record, Your Honor, we're calling Kevin Clark one of probably several times in this case. Mr. Clark, could you please introduce yourself to the jury and spell your name for the record?
Good morning. My name is Kevin Clark, Kevinclark.
And Mr. Clark, where do you work?
I'm the Director of Crime Strategies and Intelligence for the 4th Judicial District Attorney's Office.
What kind of education and training do you have that allows you to do the work that you do?
I've got an Associate's of Applied Science degree in Communication Applications Technology, a bachelor's degree in Homeland Security, a master's degree in Project Management, and then I've earned undergraduate certificates, since I already have the bachelor's degree, in digital forensics, cybercrime, and database management. I've also received training by law enforcement agencies in cell phone tower and mapping data, fundamentals of crime intelligence analysis training, level 1 and level 2 of a program called GeoTime for cell phone data and mapping program, as well as the FBI's cellular analysis survey team, level 1 and level 2 training.
And then as it relates to the investigation for Gannon Stauch, missing Gannon Stauch, how did you become involved in that investigation?
At the time, I was a senior criminal intelligence analyst for the Colorado Springs Police Department, assigned to their Metro Vice, Narcotics, and Intelligence Division. And in that capacity, I work with all the law enforcement agencies in the local area. We were aware of a missing child, and then I was asked on Saturday, February 1st, by my commander, if I'd be willing to go TDY to assist as lead analyst in this investigation for the next 30 to 60 days.
Not everybody necessarily knows what TDY means.
Temporary duty. So instead of working at my normal office with the Colorado Springs Police Department, I worked primarily out of the command post.
And then as a result of your involvement in this investigation, do you know whether multiple search warrants were obtained for phone numbers?
They were.
What would you typically get when you issue a search warrant to a cell phone provider?
To a cell phone provider, so AT&T, Verizon, T-Mobile, and then Sprint at the time, you would get something back called call detail records. The call detail records is just a business record full of dates and times with phone numbers that communicate with each other. So the outgoing call from the target phone number or the incoming call to the target phone number, what that phone number is, how long the duration of the call was, if the call was connected. Text messages, same thing. At this date, on this time, phone number 1 sent a text message, phone number 2, or on the receiving end of that, data sessions, and usually some sort of subscriber information, who pays the bill for that phone.
So do you submit a phone number to the cell phone provider to get that information?
You do.
Okay. So we just heard Ms. Hicks testifying about the defendant giving a reference for a person called Connie Huddle and listed the phone number 843-504-6724. Did you hear that testimony?
I'm just muting numbers just in case.
Based on your knowledge of that particular phone number, who is that phone number associated to?
Gannon Stauch.
Indicating that the defendant created that reference and used Gannon Stauch's phone number for that person.
That's correct.
Okay. Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Cross-examination.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir. You may step down.
Thank you.
Caroline, it's immunity. Immunity.
This witness will be available throughout the trial, and my understanding is going to be testifying at a later time.
At least 2 more times, Judge.
Go ahead and submit your question now. I'll hold on to it. It may be that we can ask it now. Do any of the jurors have any questions? Let me ask that. Oh, no. All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clark. You can go ahead and step down.
Oh, no. Stefan said he must have a tie sponsor. Yes. Let's see the judge a little bit.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our lunch recess a little bit early. If I can have all of you back in the jury room at, say, 1:15, we'll be able to start on time at that point. Again, do not discuss the case among yourselves. Don't discuss the case with anyone else. Don't do any research about any aspect of this case. And we'll see you back at 1:15. All rise for the jury, please.
Yes, it's me muting everyone. Okay, and then it just drops off. So that was the morning session. Wow. Lots of things happened there. I hope that you enjoy the time with me. We will meet again for the afternoon session. So let me just quickly do this. So this stream should lead you to the next one, okay? And in the tea breaks and things like that, we did some map time today. So go check that out if you missed it. And I'm gonna also, it's like a little bit of a break time. This is the one time between morning and afternoon that I get a break too. Stefan's like, I love your court outfit, G. Thanks. I'm all blazered up and ready for court. We got this, okay? Day 4, morning session complete. Lunchtime. Let me just check the time, actually. Wait, what's the time now? Okay, it's 7:51, almost 8 p.m. my time. So I set the next stream for 9 p.m. my time. We'll see what time it is. I'm going to leave it set like that, but I'm monitoring the stream. And as soon as they're back, we're back, okay? So make sure you are subscribed with the bell on if you want that notification, but this stream should lead you there. So I've been writing down, all the witnesses we had today. Kelly Smith, Trevor Seifert, Alexis Pack, Jason Hess. We also had the principal that we saw, and then this professional, what was his name now again? Hold on 1 second, please. Kevin Clark. There we go. Okay. So thank you so much. Time for a snack, time for a coffee or something. And I'll see you back here very soon. I'm going to play my Grizzly redirect outro. It's one I made for you guys. Okay. It might give you some nostalgic vibes, but just watch it all the way through so that it redirects. It's only 23 seconds. And then you'll see Fury as well. Okay. So see you all in a bit. Make sure you like and share if you haven't yet. And I'll see you there. Okay. Bye.
Hi Grizzlies! You will now be redirected to the next screen. See you there!